Hello and welcome to the Delirium Engine, where 2 is now 4, and the standard topic of the day has been completely thrown into the garbage, and it seems we're doing a hot take clickbait. Today I am with my co-host, the Spartan, Dr. Postdocs,
Hello.
and Jared from Subway.
Hello all.
So let me just move over quickly to the boom hot take clickbait screen. And today we will be discussing the hot take, or we'll be giving our hot take on new games are shit. What the fuck, bro?
What the fuck, bro?
They are shit.
Yeah, it's getting downhill.
So
pretty
generally
quick.
speaking, I think it's a consensus that the new games are shit. And I think we're talking about sort of AAA development, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So, I guess what we'll do first is I'll simply go around the table. Everybody can get a very quick hypothesis on what they're talking, what they want to talk about here when it comes to being hot new games being shit, and then we'll just let the roundtable discussion begin. So let's just start at the side of the table here with Dr. Postdocs.
Hi there, my name is Dr. Postdocs. I really like single-player games. I think people are the scourge of fucking humanity and I don't want to play games with them. And I find that as I'm searching through these new single-player games that I really fucking love, they all fucking suck.
But bruh, online is the future.
Bruh. I don't like people. A thing that makes people more accessible for me, like, I agree. There's some people here at the online this table that are like, online playing with friends is cool. But my friend moves 8 hours away and he wants to fucking play video games together. He can fuck right off and we'll play video games on a couch together when he comes down.
I didn't want to play games with you anyway.
Fuck
then.
you, buddy. I just genuinely think that single player games.
So wait. What you're telling me is Dr. Postdocs is friends with Jared from Subway?
I am friends from Jared from Subway. We met when I was 8 doing an ad campaign.
You met when you were 8, eh?
And I was Jared from Mr. Sub.
Yeah, Jared from Mr. Sub and I had a very tumultuous relationship, starting with the subs. Things started to get pretty crazy. He started working for Subway, and then we decided to part ways because I'm a Mr. Sub guy
This is some
myself.
edgy content.
So, yeah, single players suck, and I love Jared from Subway.
Perfect. Okay, Jared from Subway. What do
Well,
you have to say about games and why they're shit?
What do you think?
I guess just going off that, I think it's just multiplayer seems to be the way everything is going towards and playing with friends online. So it seems that all the AAA developers are trying to, get as much profits as they can out of multiplayer games in that way, but they're not really focusing on actually making a good fucking game, and they're just trying to get as much microtransactions as they can. But it doesn't mean that there isn't good games that do come out, and I think a lot of them actually have nothing to do with multiplayer when they are good games. But
That makes sense. That's a real anti-profit approach. Hard leftists here. We're
We're communists or nothing here.
we provide equal time for all ideologies on our show.
Oh boy.
Also, we're drinking beer on a fancy glasses, just so everybody knows. So as the day progresses, I may start slurring my words.
You may also hear
boy.
that our pinkies are up during this entire
That's a
podcast.
fact.
100%.
Pinky's out.
So viewer, if you exist this time,
Please do.
you can feel comfort in the knowledge that our pinkies are out.
We work really
drinking
hard
with
to,
refinement.
We're really hard to give you quality content here.
Mr. the Spartan, what's your hot take on new games are shit? What the fuck, bro?
What the fuck, bro?
What the fuck?
Brett.
Well,
WTF, bro? This is a Christian
So
channel.
Spartan. What the fuck, bro?
was that
What the
not
fuck?
supposed to be swearing?
Oh, yeah, whatever. I try to keep a lid on it, but it did obviously.
it
Actually,
happens.
I literally had like videos that had boobies in it.
I was gonna say I thought I saw a hot tit in there. So
Titties are okay, but swearing.
anyway, what's your opinion?
What's your opinion?
Yeah, what's your opinion?
What's your opinion?
Well, I usually play more multiplayer focused games, which I probably shouldn't because they drive me absolutely insane. But it's the more I see of what comes out, the more it's not gamer focused. It's more
What is it focused on?
profit focused, which is backwards.
Well, wouldn't that be gamer focused?
Well,
Because
no.
it's focused on taking profits from gamers.
So it's kind of
Yeah, but they do it
backwards,
backwards.
right? Yeah,
Like, they don't focus on the people, they focus on the game and how to make more money.
but not
Instead of just,
But does it
Giving
make
people-
more money?
well, yes and no?
Yeah,
It depends. I mean, if they royally fuck it up, then no. But
So
if-
Spartan, let's hear your hot take all over this clickbait.
Well, Jesus.
Let's slide in there. pretty nice.
Conception! We have the fanciest man alive here on this podcast. He's taken a wine glass and put it inside of a coffee cup. So we would have a handle to, pinkies up a little bit easier here. And here we go, double glassing it here. This is the
Quality.
real Delirium Engine podcast.
World's
Quality
first.
here. World's first.
World's first.
Game changer.
I'm basically a speedrunner, but for class.
Now, can he take it out without breaking
Yes,
it?
he can.
Oh,
And that's the end of the podcast.
Yeah,
no,
we're
I'm just
done.
kidding.
It's good because I
all
love
over.
I love this song and I want to start jamming it. Okay. Anyway, keep going. Keep going.
So, like, wow.
Now that I've derailed the
I've been
conversation.
derailed, yes, but seriously.
Let's
How-
derail
how-
this train.
How are they emphasizing not gamers anymore?
They're
How are they emphasizing profits without emphasizing taking the profits from gamers? Who are they trying to take the profits from?
well,
What?
they are trying to take it from gamers
Yes.
without giving anything worthwhile in return.
Is it
Is,
working?
is the issue?
As in, it's not like an expansion.
To-
It's just microtransactions.
Yeah, but is
Yes.
it working?
Yeah. It's working.
To a lesser degree.
What's the problem?
Well, the problem is
If it's working,
everything
if
is.
you fools are paying money for it, then how is this
well,
a bad
us
thing?
fools at this table ain't paying money for it.
No.
Oh, okay. So you feel alienated because they're making games for people who aren't you old curmudgeons.
Well, no,
all
it's
them
getting to the
kids
point
are
where they're
not-
alienating everyone.
So it's not working then. They're not making money.
Yeah.
So I've got to go.
I
No,
think
not
they
anymore.
might just be not sure. Well, obviously they're trying to make money as much as possible, but it seems like they're alienating everybody when they try to do that.
I've got a good
Yes.
example for this.
Yeah.
Guys.
Instead of making something that maybe if some people want to play. Hey, wait. But first, what is your opinion?
Yes. Come back around.
Oh, my new games are shit. What the fuck, bro?
Yeah.
Yes.
What is your what the fuck, bruh?
Well, way back in the day, and I've said it to you guys before in other conversations, but I'll say it here for the podcast, is I'm of the firm opinion that video games used to be a puzzle. They were a game that you could complete. And somewhere along the lines, someone got it in their head that games were a sport. And they are not a sport. And they should never have become a sport. And esports can go to hell.
I like esports.
I know you do.
Why?
And I watch esports too sometimes, but it's all horse shit. And those games are all fake. They're not real sports. They don't run under the same parameters as an actual sport. All right? If fighting games, like I was saying before the thing started, if fighting games were an actual sport, they'd be Nidhogg. Nobody plays Nidhogg as a sport. Well, there's probably like 10 guys that do, but it's not really a thing. And it's the same with like Smash or Street Fighter or all the other things. It's all tier lists and all this other horse shit. It's fake. It's all based on some guy's design, and those designs aren't very well controlled. And all you're doing is you're discovering who the best tiered character is, and then you just follow this, that, or the other thing. The card games are the same thing.
But is this about just new games or just about the new culture of games then?
No, it's the games themselves, because almost every game does that, right? Like there's very few
They're
games
looking
that
for a competitive
they'll throw a
element.
ladder up, and so you can compete against each
Yes.
other instead of Diablo. Like say Diablo 1, where it's like the point of the game is to get through to the bottom and beat Diablo. You can play with your friends, enjoy, right? Diablo 3 is, I guess you could play a story mode, but really what it's about is getting the top build to get as far as possible into the torment levels, so that you can get to the highest on the ladder. All right, and this started subtly, and obviously they didn't. This wasn't like some weird by design thing, but over the course of time, these games started becoming a sport where it became extremely competitive, and maybe that's what people kind of wanted. But I think maybe they wanted it without knowing that they actually didn't. Does that make sense? Like,
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
okay, great.
This kind of brings it back to
Yeah.
arcade games.
But like,
Yeah.
think about it. Yeah, well, arcade games are one thing.
The
Now, every game
microtransactions and the competitiveness.
every
kind
game
both
is
go
kind
hand
of an
in hand.
arcade game now,
Yeah.
but they're not simple. They're not. Arcade games are competitive because they were trying to eat your quarters.
Yeah.
And they also had like just a scoreboard. Like, oh, you did a whole bunch of stuff for the longest period of time. You win. You get the highest score.
And your name is
Whereas.
Your name is Ass.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You're number one.
But we advanced beyond arcade games. Like arcade games, nobody gets so devoted to arcade games. Like this is why narrative games became a thing in like the 80s, right? And now we're back at arcade games again. or in this case, we're back at bad, shitty esports.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not like they're good esports. Like, yeah, some StarCraft games, like in the top level StarCraft games, are actually pretty interesting. There's only 3 teams. Right? And none of the teams you can really say are better than the other ones, because the
Protoss, Zerg, and Terran, for anybody
and
who
they
doesn't know.
kind of cycle. Like,
Yeah.
they kind of beat each other. But, you know... And they all have different strategies, and I don't know, that's good. And... I don't know. How do I best put this? And I don't like doing the I don't know thing all the time. And I kind of get on these rants. But long story short, video games were probably better when they had to devote their time to producing a good story. And now, as a result of the sports-ishness of games and how they're becoming more of competitive play, you end up with trash level games with a pretty coat of paint, kind of like Rust. Which is what Fallout 76 is.
Yeah.
It's Rust.
It's Rust.
But Rust is better.
Except a different coat of paint. Yeah, but Rust is better.
Because it accepts that it's a bare bones.
Because it has push
game,
to
not a
talk.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it has push to talk.
But you end up with those kind of games, and those are competitive. In the same way, those are competitive games. And you end up with like MMOs, which are competitive games in the same way. So you just basically want to build the biggest guild so you can do the raid dungeons the most, so you can get that highest percentage tier of gear. Or like maybe you go to the arena in WoW or whatever, and it's like you want to get to the top of the ladder rating. Like, but other than that, there's nothing else to do. There's a shitty storyline that people don't like, and some people do, I guess. There's YouTube channels devoted to it, but whatever. But all of the games always end up in this weird competitive environment, and it's always so refreshing. Like, it's probably one of the reasons why Skyrim and Fallout and in their conceptions and some of the other games did really well, because this didn't have a competitive element to it. You went in there, you went into the game, you go, oh, I'm going to solve this puzzle. How do I solve the puzzle? Well, I'll choose my way to solve the puzzle. You get to the end of the puzzle, you're like, oh, I solved it. I beat Alduin. I beat the Legate or whatever. If you're playing Fallout New Vegas, you beat
Great
your
game.
son or whatever.
That game also had great dialogue.
No.
Well,
And
yeah.
dialogue choices.
But the whole point of it too was like it was an experience that you experienced from start to end, and it was like really enjoyable. Whereas these sport games can't have that. They literally can't have that, because if they do, then that detracts from a lot of those elements. And you can see that in the speedrunning thing, where it's just like they'll try to take these games that are not, they're like puzzle boxes or narratives, and they try to turn them into a sport, which is, yeah, that's great. Let them do that. But you don't have to turn the game itself into a sport, because it'll be turned into a sport no matter what. That's the rant kind of went all over the place like a snake, but I think that's where it is. TLDR, even though you listened to it all already, games need to be less about competition and more about what they used to be in the sort of golden age, I guess, and that is a puzzle, like a puzzle box that people get to defeat.
What I'd like to add here is in the 80s, before this big, well, I guess there was a crash, because games were being produced way too quickly. There was nothing to them, basically, and the pinnacle or the conclusion of this kind of mentality was the ET, which is widely renowned as the worst game ever. You can find it in dumps all over the place. Like, this was horrible. And what ended up happening was Nintendo and its seal of approval, whatever you want to think about that. I don't really want to talk about the seal of approval. But what Nintendo actually did was, in a market that was saturated by quantity, what they did was they made quality games, and the quality games ended up being sealed by Nintendo. And you see, what I want to kind of bring this back around to is you see Nintendo fighting the same mentality again and again and again. But I really want to bring up the example that you see
Nintendo, like it or loathe it, doesn't make shovelware.
You see that it's happening, especially now.
What?
Shovelware is kind of games that are recycled or like reprogrammed to be really, really shit and kind of re-released on
Copy pasted with
copy
new coat of
paste.
paint.
Well, I would
Fallout
agree. I would agree.
Yeah, Fallout
That's-
76.
Oh, okay.
But-
Sorry, not Nintendo does shovelware.
No,
It does not.
Oh,
No, Nintendo
sorry.
does not
Sorry,
do
I thought
that.
you were saying they did
For all the,
okay, yeah.
evil things that the big mean sleeping dragon does, it does not make shovelware.
Okay,
Generally.
okay. Sorry, I thought you were saying. I was like, wait a minute.
What I want to say
the
is
fuck are you saying, boy?
this company has constantly been on the side of quality over quantity the entire time, and like this can manifest itself
To its detriment.
To its detriment.
Well, not always, but sometimes, yeah.
For example, Nintendo has, over the past 10 years, online gaming has been very prevalent since the PS3, Xbox 360 days. Nintendo still really doesn't know how to do online very well.
They were the
they're
first
doing-
to online, and they were the last to do online.
Yes.
They just said it's not the future. It's no
like
good.
the Famicom had a DSL hookup to it where you could use it as an Internet Explorer.
You could literally hook it up to a phone and trade stocks on the Famicom,
Like,
on the Nintendo.
Nintendo
That's
was,
the way
was
I want
well
to trade
above
stocks.
it, but
It's
the
'cause it was a
way that
computer.
true games really go is this quality narrative thing that Brian was talking about, and again, like in the history of video games anyway, has already been proven to work. Nintendo keeps making quality games. Like, yeah, the Wii U might have failed, but the Switch is out now, and look at how it advertises itself. It doesn't advertise itself on Fortnite or any of the high quality quote unquote. You can't see my finger quotes.
But they
or
did
anything.
advertise their Fortnite. What was it, E3? That they
Well,
advertised
come on,
Fortnite.
Fortnite's the most popular game that's happening.
Then Reggie come out there
right
himself and say he was ready to play Fortnite with them.
But Fortnite isn't the only reason why you're buying a Switch.
Well,
Fortnite's
no,
on
no,
fucking
no.
everything, but
Yeah.
you're buying a Switch because of the quality of the games. Like we were saying
But
even
that's-
before this podcast, Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild itself were two quality games that were good enough to sell a console that really doesn't have a lot of games. Not to mention, as in the market, a lot of these game consoles are supposed to be quote unquote multimedia consoles. You can't even download YouTube or Netflix onto the Switch, but people are still buying it up in troves because it's not the multimedia or the internet or like all of this multiplayer stuff that you guys are really into. What it is this single player and the
What
fact that
moves
it's
you
producing a quality experience. The game of the year this year was God of War. Let's just put that into perspective. Fortnite was in there. Call of Duty released another one. Battlefield released another one. It isn't about multiplayer or these companies setting up schemes where they can actually make games that, you know, they can put a small team of 10 people on and work on for fucking ever, like Overwatch or something like that, right? Like, the market is very much about these quality narratives that people can play and puzzle boxes that people can find out their own shit. As soon as you start adding elements of a pay to win or anything like that, you're taking your puzzle box and you're selling it short. If you don't want to deal with our puzzle, if you don't want to even be bothered, even though you're paying $60 to buy this fucking game, to even do anything with it, here you go, you can buy yourself out. And it's really crappy that this new game free-to-play mentality is infecting everything. For example, Blizzard went out and said it was releasing a new Diablo for phones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Huge mistake. People hated it. People are really, really scared of it just being monetized to shit. And
Yeah, but that's a different story. That's more of them trying to monetize the Chinese markets, which are using
Well,
the
the
phones,
only thing is-
and not the. It's not the fact that there's a problem with them releasing a phone game, because there's nothing wrong with them releasing a mobile game. It's the fact that their end of the press conference
The big
reveal
big boom.
was, hey, look, it's a mobile game that none of you who are in this audience give a fuck about.
I would highly
and that is why
disagree.
there was a problem with it.
Thanks
because-
for your money for your purchasing
Yes,
our ad.
that's the problem
Thanks
with
for
it.
buying a ticket and getting flights to come down to
Yes.
our event show to watch advertisements by our company.
Yeah, but that's
And here, we're
exactly
gonna give you
it. They
advertisements you don't even
They shouldn't.
want.
If they had started out the show with, "Hey, Diablo Mobile," and like had gone on later, that's fine. But like, no one expects them to end out on this obviously gonna bomb mobile release of this game.
I would argue that the
Like,
free to just to sort of take us like off track slightly, but not
Yeah.
totally, is that the free to play rubric I think is very much good. It's a very good rubric.
I agree.
I like
Yeah.
free to play games.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that
Postdocs is
Fortnite
shaking
and all
his
them
head
are
with
so
the computer.
popular.
Everyone's looking like, what the fuck is this?
Well, there's a reason. You know how
What?
you brought up.
But the culture of free to play is not quite right. Like, I don't mind free to play options.
Yes.
As long as everybody understands that the free to play players are going to be second class citizens. And they have to be. Because they're the guys who are producing content for the guys who are paying to play. Right? So, if you're going to be a free to play player, they should make ways of making. Pardon?
I have a point to add to this. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Free to play, like a guy who designs a free to play game should make it so that these free to play players are enhancing the play experiences of the people who play to pay to play, and not competitively. Like, this is one of the reasons why the culture of free to play is so bad, because these guys will release these games. They'll make them sports games or competitive with ladders and shit like that.
But
You
like,
know?
what do you mean like, as an example? Like what?
What do you
Like
mean,
like
what do
for
I mean?
like sports competitive games, because I don't notice that a lot of
Okay.
games are inherently trying
let's
to
just-
be.
Let's do a
competitive.
theoretical, right?
Like-
Let's just do a theoretical, so I don't have to go trying to find exactly, and people can nitpick things. Okay, imagine we're playing World of Warcraft because we all kind of know this game.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all playing World of Warcraft. All right, And World of Warcraft's endgame content is Arena. Okay? So we're going to sell loot boxes in Arena, or whatever, that give you swords that do more damage than swords you can get for free.
Yeah.
Okay? This is ultimately bullshit.
Yeah.
This would be bullshit because that just means that people who pay money are going to be able to win the
Paying
arena.
for stats
You
is
have to pay for
inherently
stats.
a problem, yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
But that's only because it's competitive. Okay? If this was a, let's say, like an asymmetrical game, for whatever reason, let's assume that this is a game more like Left 4 Dead or something, where you can play the zombies and some people can play the heroes. Let's say the free-to-play players can play the zombies. They know they're going to lose, and they know that the deck is stacked against them, but boy, wouldn't it be fun to kill all the fucking pay-to-players, right? So they come in droves because it's free-to-play as zombies, right? And they attack the people who've paid money to be the PCs of the game, right?
Yeah.
That could work. It's not competitive in the sense that you're competing against each other. It's competitive in the sense that you're basically playing the game. The game you're playing, and this is assuming it's even a competitive game still. The competitive game that you're playing is it's basically freebies versus people who pay money for the experience of surviving, right? And all the cool shit of killing all these like scrubs that play zombies and shit. The other way you could do it is that pay to, like, if it's always only PvE and there's no real like competitiveness about it, it's just like about attacking content. Maybe the pay to players, the pay to win players, they could have houses and castles and things like that don't really affect the other players, like the free to play players, and they're all playing PvE content, or even the
just
the
cosmetics.
pay to players can get like castles and they can start guilds. And so you have to pay to start a guild and do all this stuff, but like those guys are the guys, they're the lords of the game because they paid for it. And so, but everybody's fighting against the enemies. So you can come into the game free to play as a squire or whatever, but you don't get land, right? That could be another way to do it. Like, it's just, as long as the culture is there that the free to play elements are supporting the pay to play elements, like, you are getting the game for free. You're getting free content, free entertainment, right? But you're not gonna get all the cool shit that the people who fucking paid for the game are gonna get. Like, and I don't mean just like happy crap cool content. I mean sometimes they get good shit. But as soon as you make it competitive, then it's bullshit. So like, take Diablo Immortal for example, right? Diablo Immortal, if everybody got to play it for free, right? No one would care. It'd be great. Whatever. Same with Fallout 76. Fallout 76 would be a buggy piece of shit. Nobody paid a dime for it, and they all came in, and there was just an e-store. Everybody would think the game was fine. They'd be like, oh, what a buggy piece of shit. But what did it cost us? Fuck all. I could just uninstall it if I hate it that much. But I don't, so I'll play it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But
But it's
$60
also
game didn't work.
But that's also a problem with them thinking they could release a buggy, unfinished game that they clearly didn't playtest properly.
But
And
yeah.
thinking that players would have a good time playing it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. And then they also want to monetize all that and make it like so it was like pay for stats and things like
Well,
that.
and it's just-
Anyway, Dr. Postdocs wanted to add something. He's had his hand up, literally had his hand up for about 10 minutes now while I ranted.
I don't agree with the free to play model whatsoever.
Why?
Because
You don't like
for
free
me,
shit?
okay, so what it comes down to, for me anyway, is like there is a potential for free to play games to be really good. Like Fallout, I totally agree. If Fallout 76 was released as a free to play game that was eventually worked on and kind of up to snuff, then that would work. But what I'm thinking, like free to play games, what they do is they create this standard in the industry that you can release half-baked ideas for free and then work on them as people start to play the game and pay for it and things like that. For me, I think that's stupid and like I don't like the free-to-play model.
That's not a free-to-play model.
but-
That's just half-assed.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not
Let-
that.
let-
That's the problem with
let
Steam.
me finish.
That's the problem with Steam indie devs releasing half-baked games
Well-
and then leaving them in alpha phase because they've made enough
well,
money.
let me continue on
It's
to
the
this.
Daisy problem.
Yeah, it's the Daisy
The problem is, it's like you guys can name a couple of free to play things that went really well. Like Warframe went really well,
Oh, yeah.
for example.
It was
Yeah,
the
but there's
underdog.
100 that don't.
Fortnite,
But
League of
yeah,
Legends.
my point is,
Dota.
for every
Wait, no,
one that
Dota's
works,
paid.
there's 100 that don't.
But who cares? They're free to play. It doesn't matter. I didn't
I
invest
care
anything
because
into it.
that's time and effort that game developers are actually putting into.
It's their risk.
Into the.
Yeah.
I agree,
But that
okay,
also inherently
let me
means-
finish.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
finish. By allowing a free-to-play model to exist, you allow people with if we can assume that everybody who works in a free-to-play game actually has some kind of artistic integrity and knows kind of what they're doing, you're
a big
taking
assumption.
an entire part of an industry and basically making them work on these free-to-play games in the hopes that they'll get good, or you'll fucking bring whales to it and you'll make some money on it. Like, it's stupid. Why don't you actually put your money and your time into, for example, making a Kickstarter with something that's actually fucking viable,
And nobody pays
or
for it.
something like that. But yeah, I agree. Like you
So you
do
wasted
have
all
to
your
do
But
time.
that's
You
just,
wasted
that's,
the
that's,
same
that's
effort.
just doing a free-to-play
Free-
game, but inversely. In
But
that
free-to-plays
you pay
are-
before playing
they're a
instead
waste
of
of time.
paying after
Why
playing.
why should you have to go in and spend your time on something
Dude,
that's
all of
free-to-play that
gaming is a
people have
waste
done
of time.
But that doesn't
It's an
go
artistic
for our
medium,
argument, right?
yes.
If we can see it as an artistic medium, and people are coming in and drawing fucking child's paintings and putting them on their
There
fucking
is.
parents' freezer,
If you look
and
at
being
this-
like,
if
this
you
is
look-
the best game ever, then for me that's a fucking waste of time. If you're a professional doing shit in an industry,
Isn't
you
that
can be
West
you can
of
be paid
West of
wage.
Hey,
Nowhere or
if
whatever
you
it's
look
called?
at
Like
the
that one
Steam
game?
West of
indie
Loathing?
store,
West of Loathing? Yeah, that's West of Loathing,
What
and
is
that
that?
game is brilliant. You've seen it. You watched
it's
Markiplier play
literally
it.
like stick
Oh,
figures.
yeah. West
Wow,
of
that's just
Loathing.
kids' drawings played on this thing. It's-
Well, that's what the half
But you
the
pay
Steam
money for that.
The Steam indie marketplace
It's like $2 or
is
$3. I'm okay if you produce games that are $2 to $3, and then you actually have to put a fucking time
Yeah.
value and a monotony into. But I'm not into.
Let me send you a bunch
it's-
of indie horror
it's
games that
free-
you can buy for up to $10, and let's see if you have the same.
that are just ass.
I think that they would be
that
even
are
fucking
just
worse if they're
the
free to play.
Unity
And they're
engine over.
oh well, it's just
with-
free to
with free
play.
Unity
Like
assets.
you should not take this as seriously because we haven't put it's a fucking excuse for people in the industry that just don't have their foot in the door and won't fucking work hard
I
enough
think you're just
to fucking make
way off
bullshit,
on this.
I
to
think
fucking
you're
throw it
completely
at
bass
you and make some money
backwards
off
on
you.
this.
Yeah,
one.
And,
this
like,
is
this-
like I'd
I-
rather have
okay.
games that you pay for that are shit
Okay, but
that I don't get
let
to
me-
try
let me
out and see
continue.
that are
I
shit
don't-
rather
demos
than
were a thing.
free shit.
We had demos. You played demos of real things for free, and then you're like, hey, I fucking like this product, maybe I'll fucking buy it. But now they're like, hey, the free to play is this demo that goes on for fucking ever, and eventually it's supposed to get good.
Your complaint's not free to play. Your complaint is bad games.
My complaint is bad games that are like free to play for me is like this little haven that people that make really fucking shit games can be like, oh, don't worry, this is a promissory note that it's gonna get
But
better.
that's not
But
free
they're not
to play.
even making-
That's not what we're talking
Yeah, but
about.
then
You're
those-
talking about like early development.
Yeah,
and
but then those
alpha
games
shit.
aren't even making money
That's what
because
fucking free-to-play games are. Early
they're
development that's
not.
like that's
No,
like
they're
oh we're
not.
not quite done, but
No.
here you go.
You're just way off. No,
Yeah,
that's not
yeah,
even
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Like that is. I've
No.
never
I don't
played,
care how you
okay,
feel.
Personally, I've never played.
that's really not.
I've never played a multiplayer or single player like I can agree that my experience could
Fiesta
be,
Online was like a village game that was free to play.
but
that
I've
was
never
very
heard of it.
good.
I've
Yeah,
never
I don't
done it. I've
care
never-
because you were busy playing
I understand.
Undertale or
You
something.
can say
Yeah,
that, like,
but
I don't
that
care
just
shit
means
like
they haven't
that.
had money for marketing because they don't have enough money to even
Okay,
They made a
make
shitload
the
of money.
game.
But I'm allowed
Oh, yeah,
to
but
have a fucking
afterwards.
opinion about it.
Well,
Like, yeah, you
that's-
can shit on it or do whatever, but what I'm trying to
But
say
you're not even
is
talking
I
about
don't
free to
have
play.
a lot of experience with the free to play.
Stop yelling.
So for me, the free to play shit is just it's stupid. And like, what are the good free to play games to play? Like, what are the ones that do it right? Because like every fucking free to play game I pick up is like, oh, this is Well of Souls or this is
Well, Souls is goddamn brilliant.
they're like oh like I have
Well, Souls is goddamn brilliant. Fucking just owned yourself, buds.
I didn't
Is
like Well of
Dota
Souls.
free at this point?
What?
Dota's free. League of
I've
Legends.
never
is
League of
free.
played
Legends
Dota.
is
League of
free.
I
Legends
played
is
League of
free.
Legends and,
Fortnite
like,
is free.
I think it's trash
League
a
of
little
Legends
bit
is like,
because
hey,
it's
you
like a
gotta pay
competitive
money.
game, but it's fun because it's free.
League of
It's a
Legends
free
is like
game
you
that's
gotta pay
good.
money
You
to
don't
play
have to
the
pay
ones
money
that you
to
really
play.
like.
You don't have to pay money.
No, you can just build up your.
A lot of the
champions
village
for
MMOs
hours
are
and, like,
free,
you-
and
No,
they're
no, no.
good
The
too.
only
Like,
thing you
like,
can buy is skins.
Old Flife
Which
was
don't
good.
give
I
you
remember
any-
that was
I
pretty
play.
fun.
If I sign up for League of Legends right now, am I gonna have every single champion at my disposal?
Warframe.
No,
the
but
answer is no.
but
because
you
I have
can't-
to buy those
but
champions.
no, you
because
can't-
this is a free game and I gotta fucking pay money.
You don't have
I
to
want to
buy
have
them,
fun
though.
with it.
Yeah.
No, I don't have to, but I can play the game
But
for
also-
an ungodly amount of hours and invest the time, the
But
time
buying
that I can pay the money
get-
to
I think-
anyway
I think
to
the-
do this stupid shit.
Buying different champions doesn't make you
Yeah,
better
you
at
have
the game.
to play the game.
It does because there's a
unlock
meta.
more
There's a
stuff.
meta and there's a ladder and like.
Stop!
they can
Now
give
you're
you-
talking about metas and ladders and not free to play.
Yeah, but this has nothing to do with
But
free-to-play models.
Metas is, like that's the competitive thing that you said. Like free to plays are ruined as soon as they put competitive models in there. And League of Legends does that all the time. They put a competitive model in there. They
But
give
it
you
is
12
a
free
free to play
champions.
game where you're producing content for the other players.
But you're not.
Same
gonna
with
be as-
Hearthstone.
You're not going to be as. good
You're
as-
it doesn't matter if you're as good. You're free to play.
It does because it creates a two-tier system where it's like
You're creating
okay,
the
these
content
guys
for
But then,
people
but
to
if
pay
people
money.
think your game is bad, you just don't play it,
These-
and that's the end of the game.
Play it, whatever. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
There's a bad game here. Whatever. It's like no. If you're creating a two-tiered system where people that pay into your
That's
shit
fine.
that should have just paid like a $60 or like
Why is that
$40 or whatever,
bad?
because I think it's a waste of time
For who?
for
Waste
for
of time for
players
who?
and
Then
for
don't
fucking
play
people.
fucking video games that are free.
Why
Don't play them. Period.
Why like
Video games are a waste of time.
If we have new
They're
games,
all a waste of time.
There
Go
could be-
do something productive and stop being a mindless consumer
Okay, but
of
if
things.
there
Go
could be-
produce something.
if it's an artistic style and they can
Okay,
do
don't
good
talk
games and
about
bad
games being a waste of time. We're all here to play games because
Okay.
we specifically want to waste time.
Bad games are a bad waste of time. Good games are a good waste
That's a
of time.
value judgment. Well, obviously bad games are a bad
Yeah,
waste of
bad
time.
games are a bad waste of time. If we can agree with that, then it doesn't matter that it's a fucking value judgment. We
Okay,
can all agree
but
on it.
you're talking about bad games and not free to play.
Free-to-play games for me are inherently bad
Oh my
because they
goodness.
create a two-tiered system where the people that play are better, and then the people that play for free are like fucking garbage scum bullshit that don't deserve to play the game. and it's
Except
real.
people who play for
thing.
free can win in a lot of these free to play games.
If
Like
how?
you,
If
by
these
being good, get good, scrub.
if these
If you play League of Legends and you play it, you start from the scratch. Day one, literally, I can make an account for free right now, and I can play it. I can beat the shit out of people who've paid money into it.
yeah.
All right,
Absolutely.
I don't get to choose my character right away. I don't think because they have free to play characters that rotate every week.
There's a
Yeah.
weekly roster.
Yeah,
of
they have a
free-to-play
weekly
champions.
roster rotation because that's their model. And if you want your character that you always have, you do have to buy it with
You don't-
in-game
you don't-
points that you get for playing the game.
Yes. Or you can buy it. But
Yeah,
you
if
don't
you want to
have
fast
to
track
do
that, you can buy it. You don't have to though, because all you need to do is play the game. Same with Hearthstone. Hearthstone rewards you every day. Their rewards aren't the highest in the world, but that's because they're top of the game, like they're top of the heap, and they don't have to give away free shit. All right, and you go into Hearthstone, you can start to do it like the streamers. You go look up free to play, get to legendary. Right, those streamers do that in 1 month. They go from zero, nothing. And they know exactly how to play the game properly. You can look it up online, you can look it up on YouTube, and just follow their instructions, and you too could be the fucking guy to get to Legendary and beat Hearthstone against all the other players.
Okay.
Something that I, who've put money into it, don't do.
I
Okay,
will,
wait.
okay, I gotta concede something. I gotta after I've been like challenging everybody and
You
stuff
tried.
like
You tried.
I really-
I appreciate
I
it.
can't
do.
say
You
that I
introduced
don't like
yourself and
free
then
to play
talked.
games if I'm okay with people kickstarting things that they've never even fucking heard of.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
Hey, you hear this game
I
called
just thought about
Ukulele,
that, like-
where it got kickstarted $500,000 and then
nothing
it was,
happened.
It was pretty lackluster
I can't-
at best.
I can't shit on free to play games.
But
like League of
that
Legends
game
and
had no
stuff.
microtransactions. Ain't that some shit?
If I'm a guy who would pay for Undertale to be developed, even though I don't know what the fuck would come out of that, because technically, I would be giving myself the same problem as I would with a free to play game. The free to play game I'd actually get to experience though, and like play around in. Whereas if I was just funding a Kickstarter like Undertale before, it was a fucking success because it's always a gamble on that kind of shit. I'd be paying money to get absolutely nothing.
But you're literally feeding into the opposite of your problem.
Yeah.
You're
But
just
but
saying that
I
free-
understand that
You
now.
just said that.
I get that now. Like,
No,
what
he
I'm-
came
what
to
I'm
the
saying
realization.
is, I've come to the
Okay,
realization to be like,
okay.
okay, if free to play is
Peer pressure got him.
stupid, well then what the fuck makes a Kickstarter better than a free to play? Well, the answer is the free to play is better than the Kickstarter because the free to play is an actual idea that you can fucking
You
play
can
with
literally demo it.
and demo it.
Yes.
Whereas a Kickstarter, you cannot learn to kind of love it and demo it. It's just an idea that people are tantalizing
Especially if they know
with
you
you
might not.
Yes,
and bringing
it's,
it in
you're
with you.
paying for the idea
Okay.
that might come
Okay.
around.
Yeah.
I can come around to that.
Maybe.
Okay, I can come around to free-to-play games being way better than Kickstarter games
And
Because
just
they
as long
actually
as
offer
people
something.
understand that the free players, they're paying for the game through their time.
I mean,
Because they want people to play the games.
and
Yes,
they also want them
usually.
to. They also want them to pay money because they want them to be like, hey, this paid player is better than me, and maybe I want to be that guy. But also, any non-paying player shouldn't be pissed off that they're probably doing worse
free-
than a paid player.
Free to
in a lot of
play
those
games
like-
generally have to be multiplayer because they
Yes.
want you to spend money on them on a consistent basis or
Yes.
subscription based, right? Like my qualm was that video games are getting bad, not because they're becoming free to play, because that's their own tier of games, but a lot of them are becoming competitive in that sense. Like they're getting online competitive play, they're doing all sorts of stuff, and the narrative based games are kind of dying.
Yes.
They don't exist because
Well,
monetization on a lazy competitive game is way higher than monetization on a really, really top notch sell once. You know, it lasts for about 2 to 3 months, and you make your couple million.
but
and then
I
you go
think
home.
this comes down to just AAA developers realizing that they have the budget to. Not that they have the budget, but they actually have the brand identity in order to release a game that is just. It has nothing to it, but they can get the microtransactions out of it. Like if you're an indie developer and you're trying to make a free-to-play microtransaction game, it's really hard to do that because if no one's gonna start playing your game, then you're never gonna make any money. Which it does sort of feed into what he was saying in that, yeah, like they won't have money. But if you make a game that's worth playing, then people are gonna come to it, and then you can make money. But
Well,
if you're a
Fortnite was
AAA
a-
developer and you're
Fortnite
like,
was an indie developer.
it
wasn't
was, but PUBG was first, and that game exploded out of nowhere, and that game was just
Do you want some more?
ass because the game was horribly optimized and all these other things. But Fortnite saw all the money and all the potential,
Yeah.
so then they made their free-to-play version. And
It's like
look-
Overwatch and Paladins.
Look, exactly.
Overwatch cost $60, and all of the elite gamers, Epic win, they got Overwatch. But all of the people who don't have their mom's credit cards and couldn't afford it, they went and played Paladins. And guess what? Paladins is still doing well. And Overwatch is doing well too, because they're both technically like games that are sort of free to play.
Well, that's because Overwatch.
Like, you have
had
to
a-
pay. You have to pay to buy Overwatch,
Yes.
and then you can buy microtransactions, but you don't have to pay to buy Paladins.
I don't
They're
think I
the
ever
same
bought
game.
a microtransaction in Overwatch. I never felt entitled to
Yeah.
Overwatch doesn't really have microtransactions. They have
loot boxes.
loot boxes.
Which actually
is
I think is the
bullshit.
worst fucking thing. Like I
Yeah,
like I
it's
like
complete
League in that
bullshit.
it's like, hey,
Yeah, I don't
I like
like
this
loot
skin. I didn't
boxes,
pay for
so-
this game. Like I think over the years, I went and I emailed Riot actually not too long ago. I was like, hey, like how much money have I spent? Can't remember what it was. It was about $60 a year, which I mean for a game that is constantly releasing content and that I've been playing so much, that's a big game title a
think I've
year. That's a
blown-
fair amount,
I
right?
think I've blown about $350 on League of Legends
Yeah,
since it
and, like-
came out, and I stopped playing it like
I've
years
blown
and years
like
ago.
$100 on Hearthstone since I started.
Yeah, like
playing it
sometimes you
last
just pay
year.
money,
Yeah,
and it's like
probably.
it's good. Like, oh, I like this character a lot. I want to spend money, and like I don't feel bad about it because I'm like, oh, I like this skin. I like that you did this for this character or whatever. Maybe I just like the
I bought skins
Well,
just
you
because
got-
the art was good in
exactly
that game.
like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so there's nothing wrong with it. But when you have to fucking spend money and be like, God, I sure fucking hope I get whatever
it's a
might be in
chance.
this loot box. Like that,
Yeah, that's
that is where it becomes a problem.
like I've said before, like I think there is a place for competitive games like that, but if every game is like this, then there's a problem. And you can't have free to play games that are puzzle boxes. Like they don't really release them that way.
They don't work
Yes.
Like they can't. So you know, free to play games I don't think need to be abolished. Period. Like let's just get that straight. I just don't, and I think the culture of free to play needs to change because people are seeing these free to play like right now. Like we just had a freaking half-an-hour argument about this bullshit, and only because he thought free to play basically meant garbage, and
Which I mean, I can see the argument. I mean,
but
the
it
argument is there.
usually
like-
it's not. He's not wrong.
Yeah, there's so much hot indie
We're only
garbage
talking
on
about him in the third person because he left the
Yeah,
room.
yeah. On
Um,
Steam, there's so much hot indie garbage that is just like
Oh,
no
God.
one put effort into, and like maybe
The endless
it's
betas.
someone who's an aspiring developer.
Welcome to my alpha development game.
Yeah.
It's totally good.
No, I'm good.
Infestation, the new Z, is the perfect example of this. It's
Yes,
like
like-
goddamn lazy bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like sometimes it's a developer actually trying to playtest what their idea is or something, but like very rarely is it actually that. It's more,
No,
oh,
it's
if I
usually
make a
just a lazy
cheap ass
developer.
horror game in fucking Unreal Engine, maybe I can make some money, and then this is the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Deltarune is kind of a good example of what
Why are you trying to
free
focus this
should
towards
kind
me?
of.
You haven't seen it.
I'm just
feel like
saying
you
some
need to wait
stuff,
until
but
this
it's
comes
kind of
out.
hard to
Spartan,
overcome.
He's quiet. It's fine.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to overcome postdocs and McAllicar.
This is
No,
fair.
we're big brains that always clash.
I don't
Or
have a
we
big brain, I'm an
unanimously
idiot.
agree on something and talk for 4 hours. And,
I'm just
people
loud.
get mad at
I
us.
have very profound lungs.
Yes.
I would like Undertale was a Kickstarter. I can't be mad at the free plays, and I've come around. You've convinced me, sort of thing.
You're welcome.
But I would say
You've seen the error of your ways.
I've seen the error of my ways.
Goddamn right.
If done correctly, free to play can be
Yes,
very good.
I can agree with that.
but
Well, what is
Oh, no.
correctly?
You guys were talking about
Well,
Warframe earlier.
correctly
Yeah.
doesn't even
And
mean.
I think-
correctly doesn't work because it means correctly just means making a game that people want to play. Correctly is kind of subjective between people who want to play and people who don't.
Well,
Like,
so what will make people want to play in a free-to-play
Yeah,
game?
yeah.
So let me just rephrase it so that it doesn't offend your
Well,
senses.
no, it's just I guess longevity would kind of be the end of the statement. Is that if you're making a game free to play and you're going to want to continually generate money, then you have to make sure that the game at least keeps people playing.
the base
Like
concept
if you make a
has to be
4-hour game and make it free to play, probably not going to get a lot of money out of that if there's somehow microtransactions in that.
Yeah.
Like that just is not going to work. Like you have to make the game have a lifespan, a longevity, and something that you probably have to keep working
Okay.
on.
The free-to-play games generally have to be competitive. in
Exactly,
some-
and also competitiveness helps because then it kind of draws attention and like desire to be better and pay money to.
Or
Well, not pay money to be better, or just pay money because you're
either
in.
competitive or
to the game.
content rich.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
like you can have
Content rich.
MMOs can be
Warframe is
content
content.
rich and they're
Yes,
not
exactly.
they're not competitive in the same sense. And Warframe's the same idea where it's like you could technically I guess compete against each other, see who does the most DPS or whatever, but really you're just mob slogging, like you're just slogging through mobs like by the thousands or whatever, and you guys are just paying for I don't know cool skins and shit,
Yeah,
right?
Basically.
Isn't
that was like I've been
Like
playing.
if you
every-
want, if
Go
you
ahead.
wanted a thing in Warframe, you could earn it, depending on what it is. If it's cosmetic, generally you have to buy it, but you can
Yeah.
earn the premium currency by slogging through, like grinding for specific things, and then selling that specific thing to somebody else for premium currency.
Yeah. Oh, there's a marketplace.
Like there's a whole marketplace.
Oh,
like
shit, okay,
Warframe
yeah.
is huge.
Yeah.
Like, and it's all, as far as I know, it's all player run.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
yeah,
I would say that's a plus point versus it being run by the company.
yeah.
Because I would say that the company, like in this day and age, would be more willing to do something like Battlefield 1 and 2, where they're willing to give out microtransactions or in some kind of way, but they really would rather at the end of the day you pay for them. And the consequence of that is making your entire game based off of the grind. So Warframe, I would agree, like Warframe does it in a good way where it's all cosmetics, whereas the bad version of that would be Battlefield 1 or 2,
Or
where
Battlefront.
Battlefront. That's what it's
is
called. Battlefront.
the-
Okay,
yeah,
Battlefront 1 or
it's-
2, where you have to actually pay to get a card that allows
that
you
was-
to be a Jedi more than 50%
But they also
of the
did that
time or
in the most
something.
terrible way possible because games even up to that point hadn't even done it in a more terrible way than they did. Or it was like you would actually only get good shit unless you paid.
It was straight up
Like-
predatory.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like this problem with new games doing this.
But
kind
like,
of
but
shit,
also, how long was
They're-
that released? That's probably
Pardon?
2 years old now.
Battlefront is
Battlefront?
3.
Yeah, I think it's
Battlefront
coming up
2
on
is
3.
The second
One,
one,
three.
like, it's been a while since that whole debacle, and they've,
But I
besides
find
the fact that companies have realized that if they try and pull that
doesn't
bullshit, they're gonna get
But they haven't.
it's
the most
not stopping.
downvoted bullshit on Reddit. But,
Like Capcom is making Devil May Cry 5.
yes.
Devil May Cry 5 is a really, like, people have been long awaiting it because they did a reboot, and the reboot famously failed with the redesign of Dante and things like that. But what Devil May Cry 5 is doing is it's allowing players to buy through microtransactions skill points to get in your... This is a single-player game. It's a single-player character action game. If no one's played a Devil May Cry... If you've lived under a fucking rock for the past 10 years, you don't know what Devil May Cry is. It's a single-player action game. It's pretty good.
It's like Bayonetta for old faggots.
100%. That is the
That's
most
me.
accurate perception of it. But what happens with these new games or shit is this microtransaction mentality is seeping into the point where in single-player games what they're doing is they're making them purposely more grindy, aka arcade games, and having artificial difficulty to add length to them. But the length is also a double-edged sword where they're trying to irritate you into doing microtransactions.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Assassin's Creed had this problem too with Odyssey and
Assassin's Creed, you can actually buy to skip whole portions of like the new games, which is fucking stupid.
Really?
Yeah. You can Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You can skip full parts of the story just by paying money.
because they made it intentionally grindy in the sense that you might just pay money.
Bad game, like new bad games.
At least that's what it looks like.
That adapt microtransactions are doing that. Like they're taking this. Like I'm a single player. I love single player. I don't like playing with fucking anybody unless it's on a couch beside them or whatever.
Yeah.
I like that shit. I'm
I
not
like
very
Elder
much-
Scrolls.
Yeah.
ESO, like the Elder Scrolls Online game, that's got microtransactions and all that horse shit in it. But
is that
you pay
for
the game.
cosmetics or is that for actual in-game
Both.
items?
Both.
Yeah, I tend to play with War Thunder a lot.
But the point is
similar-
the game
similar,
itself
yes.
is you can play it solo. It's an MMO that you can play solo. You don't if you want to get all of the raid and dungeon content, but you can get the story and all that stuff as solo. You don't need other people for it. You know, if you want to play competitively, you can, and there's like stuff for that. And there's experience scrolls and other in-game store stuff that you can buy that gives you a little bit of an edge. You can't buy like the best gear or anything like that from there because they more or less do it right.
Yeah.
You can get crowns and stuff. Will get you premium memberships and other things. And like there's all sorts of ways of monetize. There's 101 ways to monetize the game. All of which you can basically. They even got fucking loot boxes and microtransactions in there that you can get too.
Of course.
But you can ignore all of it because most of it's cosmetic, and the other half of it is just like ancillary things that just let you save time on leveling. Or whatever.
But
Which they give them away for free anyway now.
That just seems like it comes down to bad game design, in that you're making your game intentionally grindy in the hopes that someone pays money to get over it. But then you're literally making a game.
But the game is fun enough right now that you don't have to.
Well, no,
you might not even want to. You're
Maybe
just
not
like,
in that
whatever.
particular game, but in I think some of the games you mentioned, like Odyssey, where it's like, oh, if you pay money, you just don't have to do this.
Yeah, you don't have to do the same.
But that's
shit
just shitty games that are. It's.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Or even like in Fallout 76, where like I'm pretty sure you can pay money to buy in-game items, right?
It's all cosmetic.
Oh, is that all cosmetic too?
It is, but it's horrendously overpriced.
Okay.
Well, that's the other thing too.
And
is the cheapness of microtransactions.
Okay, so I thought you could actually buy in that, but yeah.
What I'm kind of figuring out, like with what bad games are, is basically these ideas that try to make games more accessible. That basically, in the end, yes, they're giving you a free product that is more accessible, but the ulterior motive to the accessibility of this product is basically to put the grinder on your wallet in some instances. But we found that through our conversations, like that can't be that isn't always a bad thing. Like buying cosmetic things in Warframe or being able to grind for premium currency is a good thing. Like that's fine. But when you're starting to buy levels and buy like skipping the game and shit like that, that's when your games start getting bad. So like my question, my question kind of is this free to play, or like these microtransactions, are they unavoidable? And B, is there a way to kind of fool or dupe your players into agreeing with this system and even having it improve a game somehow? Because for me, I find like this corporate greed, or like these microtransactions, like for example, Street Fighter's putting in its own advertising for Capcom by branding over people's stuff. Like
why not? That's great.
Like Dhalsim's tattoos or his skulls or something, they got the little Capcom thing on it or anything like that.
So
a lot of people view that negatively because they can see the product placement and they see it as someone trying to sell them something.
Can't you turn that off though?
You can, but you lose out on fighter bucks. So like their premium currency, and that premium currency is meant to buy different things like season passes and things like that.
Well, you can buy season passes with the currency.
Street Fighter 5 without any of that fighter pass stuff, and if you wanted to buy every single part of it right now, even though it's been out for a year, is $350 on Steam.
I remember back when I was in high school,
ridiculous.
I sort of
right?
theorized that, if I made an RPG, I'd get like Walmart to advertise by making all of my, like if you built an RPG, you make all of your your general stores into Walmarts. Like obviously you would change it, but you'd basically it's no, we make it pretty certain
this
that it's
is
going to be a Walmart
sort of deal.
Yeah, this is not quite a Walmart. We'll give it a fun name, but it'll basically bring to mind the idea of a Walmart. And people be like, oh, that's retarded. Like, but you know what? Who cares? Like, think about it this way. It's like if you build it into your world and you make it look good, people will be like, oh, that's funny. It's Walmart. And you can make it, if you can make it work for your game and not be overt. So, like, these are fighters from around the world. Like Street Fighter, for example. Like, they're fighters from around the world fighting in like, various locations around the world. If Capcom wants to sell advertising to sell Apple products because they got an Apple logo in the background of one of their freaking levels, right. If they want, like, Chun-Li to have corporate sponsorship, so on her, like, on her fucking enormous, beautiful thighs, they've got, like, tattoos of fucking...
Please, thick thighs, thank you.
Chun-Li's our thick queen.
She is. Absolutely.
Jesus.
Anyway, she can, like,
Continuing.
if she wants Burger King tattooed on her thigh, freaking all the power to her. There's enough beef on there that everybody can know what's going on. Anyway, the point is who cares? Like, does it change the game for you? No. It changes my,
Perception or something.
yeah, my, I don't even think, I can't even think of the word right now.
I don't think it's wrong to think that players would be upset at this sort of... I think it's just because it's so blatant, in that it's like, we are paying for advertising space on characters in a game that we made. It's not quite the same where it's like, oh, like, yeah, in UFC they wear it, but it's not quite the same because it's not...
If you're buying
it's
a
not
game,
like you're paying for that player to be in that ring. But when you buy the game, you're actually buying that player in that ring.
I'm running out of the premise that you're not buying the game, that this is a free-to-play game.
So wait, sorry, you have to pay for this game, right?
You do have to pay for Street
That's
Fighter.
where I think the differences lie in that when you have to pay for a game and then there's also this crap, it's a lot different, right? And I get games are expensive now. Games are real expensive now. You gotta make money somewhere, but like. We gotta sell a $70 game, but
you don't have to. You want to know why? Because
you
don't have to spend that much time on graphics. You don't have to spend
well,
that much time
in some
on
of
all
those
this
games you don't, but
No,
because they are not building from the ground up.
No.
But indie developers and stuff like that do.
No, indie developers don't need corporate sponsorships, and they don't get them. So why?
No,
is it
no,
that they
no.
can
But
produce
to
content?
make their game graphically viable for people to be
no,
interested.
fuck graphically viable. Fuck your graphically viable.
It doesn't
Eat shit.
have.
Run everything at fucking 800 by 600 resolution. I don't give a fuck. All right, if
Well,
your game is good to play, nobody cares.
A lot of players do.
Yeah, and a lot of players are cancer and need to shut the fuck up because they don't know what they want. They want fucking highest super resolution shit, and then they get mad
That's
when they
where
get a piece
PC
of shit
Master
game.
Race comes in. It's like,
Yeah, well, the PC
what about
Master
my
Race
small
just dug their own
44 frames?
goddamn
I can't
tube.
see it if it's only 8-bit.
Yeah, they dug their own grave. Oh, I want PC Master Race. I want fucking infinite super high quality textures.
But
I
then
want to be
there's a
able to
market
see
for
as
that.
far as the sky can see. I want all of this
I
beautiful
want those
shit.
light rays.
I want light rays and everything and all this other garbage. And I want like fucking 200 hours of freaking, lipstick on my pig. All right? And then I also want a good game. In a year. 1 year. And guess what? You don't get all of that. You don't get to have nice things and also have it take no time. Because shit takes time.
That's fair.
And they want to release it and they have to monetize it. So they have to all of these games. And Nintendo was talking about this fucking ages ago. Where it's like the price of these games is going up so high because the art content is so out there. Everything has to look fucking photorealistic. Everything has to look top notch. That means you have to pay that one tree in the corner of that one level that you looked at once. That took 7 hours. Okay, 7 hours at what? Let's say these guys make $50 an hour. What is that? That's what $350.
Yeah.
That's $350
We're all
for a
good at
fern. For a fucking tree, And take that 10,000 assets. How this game is fucking super expensive. And 10 years ago, it wouldn't have cost half of that.
Yeah, but you also would have got half of the polygons.
Who cares? The game would have been decent. What?
What do you want?
Yeah, stop fucking raising your hand. It's a goddamn podcast.
Just
Talk.
start shouting your opinion!
I don't want to shout.
I'm not a teacher.
I'm just okay.
I'm just gonna ignore you if you do this again.
Okay, to the point of graphics, I totally agree with McAlligar. It's bullshit. A big thing that indie developers do is they downgrade their graphics, shorten their teams. For example, Binding of Isaac was literally a team of 2 dudes. They used a really, really retrograde art style that was really particular to the designer and programmed it and then made it. People don't want... gamers are fucking stupid. As soon as they're oh yeah, you know, like all
That's
these
not gamers.
It's not all gamers.
No, it's the
not all
competitive esports games.
I don't
Okay,
think this
that
comes
are
down to
fucking
competitiveness.
stupid.
I think it just comes down to differences. Like I was saying with the PC Master, I was sort of making a
When-
joke, but also some players really just want, hey, I want there to be just a assload of graphics in this game so
Yeah.
I can look at it and be on my monitor jerking off.
Sell
and be
them the
like,
next
I
Madden
think he's
game.
right in front of me right
Because that's what
now.
they're gonna buy.
This-
And
is
I
a
don't want to
stupid
look at
thing.
some 8-bit Binding of Isaac bullshit because this is what I want to feel like
Yeah.
I'm in this NASCAR going around
Yeah,
this
so
corner
sell
again.
him
Why don't
NASCAR
you
this
just go
year.
watch NASCAR from the interior
but
view
then I'm
then?
not playing the
That's not-
game for
that's
me.
not the gamer, though.
But that's
you can
this is where
pretend.
this is where the
Get a
Maybe this
real-
is my gamer
But I'm saying
bigotry.
this, you
but
you
fuck
can't
those guys.
disregard that there's a market for those people
Okay,
who want
yes,
that game.
there's a market.
It doesn't
for
mean the
those
game is
games.
good. It doesn't.
But yes,
new games are
that's
shit.
not good.
That game is shit. It's shit because they didn't do anything, but they added 80% more graphics, and they're like, "This is a fucking
Call of
game.
Duty,
Pay me $80 for it."
Battlefield.
Yeah, guess what that is? You know what that
Halo.
is?
That's a bad
Let me
game.
explain
Oh, God,
right
Halo.
now what that is.
Don't
That's
tell me Halo because
non
Halo's a good game.
getting into
Halo
games.
2000,
The
their
old
big
Halos.
thing.
The old
No,
Halos
yes,
are good.
yeah,
The
no,
new
no.
Halos are
Halo-
dog shit.
You are
Halo-
right. You are right, and that is where this is exactly
Halo-
where my transition problem lies.
Halo
is that
1, 2
the old games had a sense of direction, and they had good controls, and they had a good story, and
But
had
your-
something important.
your
And then the
dir-
new games were like, oh, what if we added more weapons and graphics?
Your direction can't be, we're gonna add more graphics. Because it's stupid. Like, as soon as you turn up the resolution on something, doesn't mean that you have a better product.
The audience
It is
for
stupid,
that.
but it doesn't mean that people won't buy it.
The
It means
audience for
that.
that is your fucking retarded sports
Yes.
nuts that all decided that video games
Games
were
should
real
be
gay and
sports.
lame like 20 years ago, but then they're like, whoa, dude, you can play fucking football on this goddamn game? Whoa! I can shoot fucking guns on this? Whoa! I just like graphics. PC Master Race, brah.
Yeah, man, I got an NG video and whatever. And
Get
it runs
bent, nerds.
Assassin's
Oh,
Creed
it's a
and Dark
GTX
Souls.
1080 Ti, please thank you.
I can see the anal fissures on my character.
Holy shit. Now that I've
That's the only reason I bought Anal
Alright.
Fissures 20.
Now that I failed at football life, I can live my football life dreams forever through Madden
This-
28 to 2000.
Well, let me
Yeah.
just cut the
It's
argument here
fucking
and say
bad.
that is why they're doing this. Is because there was enough people with that mentality buying these games that they say, hey, what if my minimum viable product was I slap 2018 graphics on this bitch?
So
And
instead
call
of
it a day.
Change
And
the
call it a
roster
day.
of
And this is why you-
characters
Yeah.
to their sports team.
So
and
instead
added a
of-
bunch of Nissan plates.
So
And that
instead
is
of-
why some of these new games
so
are shit.
instead of
Yes.
competing with other games and fighting for gamers, what video game developers have discovered,
Some of them have discovered.
what a lot of them have discovered, AAA content ones who want to
Yes.
spend lots of money to make lots of money, have realized that their main competition is Hockey Night in Canada and like
shit on
NHL
TSN.
and
The
Monday
Sports
Night
Network.
Football.
Yeah.
The sports.
That's
network.
their main
sports.
competition, and it's not all those guys who made the video game industry what it is to like who basically fostered a dying industry, helped it grow, and turned it into something really great. All right, they're the people like the. Basically, what you're fighting against is the jocks. It's nerds versus jocks again, at its fundament. Because all the jocks want PC Master Race's newest, hottest graphics. They're the idiots who will buy every year. They'll buy the next Madden. They'll buy the next fucking Call of Duty.
Well,
they'll
and
buy
it-
the next
And we're
whatever
listening to them.
bullshit.
That's what we're doing.
Well,
and
no,
the people
we
listen
are
to these
not.
guys.
The AAA
And they'll jump on
developers,
these
no, the
sports.
AAA developers are listening
makes
to
money.
their wallets. They're
right.
listening to their
The
wallets.
jocks will spend
The
money.
same
But
Call of
wait,
Duty
can I
game has
take-
been
wait,
released
wait,
for the
wait,
past
let
6
me
years.
bring
Same
this
with
back. Let me bring
Battlefield.
this back. Let me bring this back because this is new games are shit. Okay.
New games shit.
So okay,
Alright.
Well,
so
this is
follow,
why new games
let
are
me just
shit.
let me just bring up real quick again. It's okay. So Fallout 76 just as a hot topic on that. So that's not inherently a jock game, right? But that is I would probably call him a AAA developer at this point, right?
No,
Like,
that's a
like,
AAA developer.
They
who's-
do, but they have released a hot pile of garbage. But they were sort of trying to tap into that multiplayer.
They're-
It's because they're
competitive.
confused.
They're flirting with the
I-
sports line.
because
They're
that's
confused.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
happened, and that's what that's.
They're like, whoa, man,
what
we're
I'm
gonna
saying.
make a shooting gun game that without the shooting or the gun aspects of the game. So all the sports jocks are like, this is bullshit, and we're gonna make a game that's like that shoots guns and shit and has got really good graphics, but it's in a fantasy setting, and all the jock guys are like, that's stupid. Why am I playing this dumb game? And there's no real gunplay, and there's no competitive element because you took the PvP out, and I can't even fucking troll people. So all the 14-year-old like e-jocks, like the baby jocks that like have grew up with their dads being e-jocks, who just run around making, you know, griefing people, you know, in shitty Rust games. These people can't even do that, so that's good for nothing. And it's not like a single player experience that like the actual old school gamers would want. So it doesn't help. It doesn't do anything.
I
it does
totally
nothing.
agree.
It's like totally infected with fucking,
I totally agree.
you know, mainstream microtransactions.
Yeah, this
And
is them trying to make a minimum viable product game. Like the Fallout game is based almost inherently on not doing that. Like the Fallout games up until this point, like New Vegas, Fallout 3, Fallout 4 was a bit of a blunder.
Yeah, Fallout 4
was a bit. Fallout 4 was good because like so as much of there was problems with that. It was still a great Fallout game, and it still had that sense of playing it single player. I was playing it by myself, and I loved playing it single player.
At least
it was.
Still had
I was in depth in that.
something
It had
there.
NPCs I was interested in, and I like even though I didn't give a shit about him and his son because why the fuck do I care about your stupid son? Because half the time I've just been out here doing whatever the fuck I want. But like the game was interesting to me. And then all of a sudden you're gonna be like, oh, what if I make this microtransaction game that has nothing to do with any single player narrative or no NPCs in general?
Let's stop.
Like,
Let's stop.
just completely throw out the window our entire philosophy on making games.
I want to attack something interesting.
Yes,
that you
please.
said. Okay, like just to tone it down so that we can get into a different topic.
Yeah.
So you said you don't care about Fallout 4's, you know, looking for your son.
No.
Did you play Fallout 3?
Yes.
Did you care about looking for your dad?
Well, no.
No. So you didn't care about the main plot at all.
No.
You
But
you just liked running around in a sandbox.
Yes, but I
also did that,
mentioned that because in Fallout 4, because they did all the voice acting and all that, they definitely seemed to try and put more effort into you caring about the story they were trying to tell.
Have you played the original Fallouts?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Did you play New Vegas?
Yes.
Did you give a shit about who shot you?
Obviously not when I first started playing, but as, you know, like, I kind of gave a shit about the world and, like, who, like, the factions and what was going on when I started playing it.
Okay,
Yeah.
did you play Skyrim?
I have played Skyrim several times and never too deeply, no.
I was gonna say, yeah. Did you give a shit that you were the Dragonborn and all of this Destiny shit?
No.
No. So nobody gave a shit about the main plot line in any of these games. But what they did give a shit about was the environment and the characters.
But
that
it was a
interact
driving
in the
force.
environment.
There was some sort of driving force. It's kind of
Well,
what I
just
meant,
there was a way
right?
to end the game, right?
Exactly. Like there was something there to drive you towards a plot, right?
So.
But it
like,
wasn't so like, hey, shut up and let me talk to you about what is going on over here, right? Like it was like, okay, there's dialogue, you can skip through it and whatever.
Like,
You like the
need
faction.
to care
Yeah,
about this
but it was
main
like no,
thing.
like
Yeah.
it was like it wasn't as
You
much
liked-
of them telling you what the story was, and it was more like, hey, like there's a story going on, but like there's still an open world. It's fucking all this shit's going on.
Yeah,
you can have
you
fun.
like
in.
the world full of its like NPCs and like maybe the factions interacting with each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
like you can choose a faction and win based on what you wanted to play
Exactly.
that time. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the main plot was just a who cares?
It was just sort of there.
It was a throwaway thing.
Yeah.
Side project.
Yeah.
Okay. So Fallout 76 just had all of this shit in it. Like it had like NPCs and stuff that maybe even only you can interact with. I don't know. Like, would that be okay?
No, well, it's
Like
just,
imagine you had a whole bunch of people around, and people are cancer. But like let's assume that we're going to ignore that people are cancer. Fallout
He's not
76.
wrong.
Well, no, you want game immersion. That's the
it
word I was
was
trying to find.
robots
before.
that, it's robots that tell you where to go.
Yeah.
To
Fallout
get
76 is shit. We all know that. But the point is if it was good,
Yes.
would it be a good game? Like you have your game immersion, and you can like talk with various NPCs and stuff, and like even if you could interact with the NPCs, and then like the other players around you are just doing their own thing, or you can team up with the other players to do random stuff, like. Because obviously in these games you're always the most important person on the planet.
That's why I
and
think
all the other most important people on the planet aren't they? Aren't you? So,
That's why the plot matters, though. Because, like, if Fallout 76 actually had a lot of NPCs that you can interact with, it doesn't necessarily mean it would be a good game if it didn't still matter what you did and what you talked to them
all
about.
I can picture now is just imagine a Fallout game where in front of like that primary one NPC there's just like 30 people cluttering your vision of that player,
Like World
of
of
that
Warcraft.
NPC.
Exactly.
Like
but,
every
Yeah.
MMO.
but-
Yeah,
but-
division.
so Yeah, but like if you're
Yeah.
playing Fallout 76 and there was NPCs and stuff, but
Or like
you
Baseball City in Fallout 4 just having 200 people in it.
Does
yeah.
that break your immersion? Like I would say, like when I played Guild Wars and World of Warcraft, and I'm the most important person on the fucking planet, and I'm walking.
But
up
those
to a
games
dude
aren't
with
really
$200
designed
dudes that are also the most important person on the planet. I'm not like again, like I'll give you some background. I don't like MMOs. I'm not very good at them. I can't stay in them for more than like 5 to 10 hours. I'm not one that's supposed to be talking about this because I haven't at least gotten to level 80 or anything like that. But I feel that my sense of importance and what I feel is the spirit of the Fallout games kind of catering to you and being the single player and kind of being that most important person.
But WoW
or at
doesn't
least having some
necessarily do
importance.
that.
But I don't feel that
I
Fallout
don't think.
76 or like Fallout 76 in particular. I don't have any. I shouldn't be able to talk about the other ones anyway. But I think the sense of importance is really devalued when you're walking up to an NPC and there's 200 other people there doing the
But that's
same
an
thing
MMO
that you're important about.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But Fallout doesn't have that.
No, there's and like Fallout is really good for its strong narration and bringing you into the fold and making you believe that all these things are real and getting the
That's-
game immersion
That's what I
that
mean.
Metallica is
The
talking
immersion is
about.
there because they made a plot to make the immersion real. Just because you don't maybe care about the plot doesn't mean that you don't feel like you're a part of the world, right? If it was just like, hey, there's this world, and like there's people doing stuff, but like it has to matter what you're doing and what you're interacting with to make sense. To like, okay, if I do these things that interacts with the plot I'm a part of now. You know what I mean? Like if you were just
How-
like going around talking to people and it didn't really matter, then like what the fuck's the point?
So my
right?
question is, how do
I,
you
like, does that make does that make
Well,
sense?
that
Like,
really
obviously, you wouldn't
matters.
make a game like that because that kind of would suck inherently.
I would argue that every game is like that.
how do you make yourself more important, or how do you differentiate yourself between the masses when you're trying to get like from what I'm seeing is narrative elements and competitive elements are really kind of what like
They're at odds.
they're at odds and kind of
They
like
can
the
be,
fucking up of bad execution on one or the other is really what kills your game. So how do you balance this need for making narration really important and making everybody feel like the game is for them and kind of bringing them into the fold to trick them enough to buy into it? Whereas how do you make the mechanics where you buy into things feel like you're important enough, or that the microtransactions aren't actually taken
Okay,
away
whoa,
from
whoa,
the
you're
game?
like 100. You're saying 100 different things here. Like,
Well-
ask one question, not like 10.
I mean, League of Legends sort of has that problem where, I mean, it's not a problem because they're sort of addressing it differently, and that they used to be trying to make all of the characters that you were playing in the game actually be a part of like the Summoner's Rift, right? They're like, oh, there's these people that are
Yes.
battling in the arena or whatever.
The
But
world.
now they're completely like, no, fuck all that shit. So when you're playing the game, it has nothing to do with the lore that they are creating. It's cut separate. Like, it's not like you're playing those characters and they're very real in the universe that they're created, but you fighting in the 5v5 arena
yeah,
has
because there was
nothing-
lore about
How
that.
do you
Exactly,
blend those
but
two?
no, but you don't. Is
Yeah,
what they're doing is
they figured out you
don't.
can't.
You can't, and you
Because
don't
it doesn't
because
work.
when you try and blend it, it becomes people being like, "But this doesn't make sense."
You're
this
trying to
is
make people
weird,"
buy into your
and you're trying to
narrative then, and then it
you're trying
fucks
to
up.
force a
Yeah.
narrative that sucks. So instead, they've made this really rich and I mean, I'm saying rich because they've kind of went deep.
Where you
in
can
it.
buy into
You're
parts
into
that
it.
you like
Exactly,
and
saying
not buy
this is
into
where
parts
these
you don't
characters
like.
are. These characters are from here, and those places, and they're making like sort of like an MMO map of where people are from. But the game you're playing, which
But
is
nobody
the,
gives a shit
the
about
competitive game
Well, some
that
people- some of the
that's
stories are
the
pretty
kind of the
great.
only reason
Yeah,
people are there
think it's way
is
cooler
what
when
people
they had like an
play.
accord. Like the whole
So-
point of the game was an accord that Noxious and Demacia or whatever they were all fighting in this thing so they wouldn't kill each other.
Yes.
And like maybe there were
Well,
other
that was the original
factions.
plot,
Yeah,
yes.
and maybe there were other factions that were arising that also didn't want to kill each other, so they also got into these fights. And if these guys were smart, they would be making they would be making lore content based on the characters that people are choosing. So it's like
But
100
they
people play
have,
Karthus.
and this is where they've had to go because in making it, in being literally ball and chain tied down to how does this lore make sense in a battle arena? Because this lore can only make sense if it's in our battle arena.
So
because
you-
they've now been able to develop characters that are like they've had their own like experiences with other characters and different factions and all that, and like this is how they're interacting, but it has nothing to do with the battle arena, because in forcing them to go into this battle arena and be like, okay, this is the reason that they're here, it's so tying down
it's a second value or a third value to
well
the
no
game.
it's tying down to to trying to make a narrative for your story.
I don't know how to make League of Legends' lore better.
Well, no, I'm just saying in that specific sense, and that if you're trying to make a competitive also story game for them, in their case, they were like, for us we can't, so you have to divide it because it doesn't make sense otherwise.
I would argue
And
that's
what
one of the
they've
reasons
done,
why
so.
a lot of the characters in League of Legends are kind of hollow, and I don't give a shit about them anymore.
But
So
and you're not wrong. The characters aren't that deep because there's not that much going on.
They're just like, oh, it's lesbian lizard girl. Ooh, she can change.
So
her
yeah,
And that's
arms.
like they
who
make some
cares?
lore and
Why
they
is
make
she
them
here?
come from a place, and like it's enough for us to
This
want
guy's
to
a
want to play
fish.
their character in the
He's-
battle
So you
arena.
have
wears
a
a
Final
top hat.
Fantasy Dissidia problem.
Bench.
Whereas
A
you
bench.
have all the like
On bench. Yeah.
Final Fantasy Dissidia focuses on the narrative, right? Dissidia's big thing is all these Final Fantasy characters and you know their narrative properties and how they relate to you, and that's why this fighting game is interesting, and that's why you're gonna pay $60 into it. But it's like what Jared said, Jared from Subway said.
That's me.
The narrative value
Previously,
of
Mr.
the
Simon.
characters that you make don't necessarily translate into hard, I'm going to buy this value.
Yeah.
And that's why like Dissidia flops. Because it tries to hard sell you on this battle fantasy narrative where everybody forgets and everybody's a different thing.
Also, they didn't
Exactly,
play
trying to
Kefka
hard
right,
sell
so
the
fuck
narrative.
them.
Well, yeah, they didn't.
They,
play Kefka
they
right,
ruined
so
the
fuck
Kefka
them.
design 100%,
100%.
and then that became
Exactly,
the official
they're trying to sell the
design
narrative.
for
League isn't
Kefka,
trying
so
to sell the
fuck those
narrative
guys.
because they already have.
League is trying to sell the gameplay.
Exactly,
and the
they're
narrative
selling
is
the
secondhand.
competitive ass game that they already know is what the point of the fucking game is. So they don't actually need to sell the narrative. They're like, hey, this is the thing. If you're interested, it's over here. I haven't even really checked it out that much because, again, I'm the player who doesn't care. But it's there, and it's like, this is how we have to do it.
So
If
competition.
you're trying to make a narrative game, it's very hard to marry that to. I mean,
Competition.
in this specifics as a battle arena, but like,
Yeah, it's hard, but that's why you pay them money.
there is that. But
That's why they're a multi-million
But then you have like World of
company.
Warcraft
and
games where
fuck
it's
'em.
like that's what the fucking point of the game is that there are the warring or you are that character in these different factions and you
in
are
a fake
actually
war that
playing...
never actually
Yeah.
resolves.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
but that's kind of because they have the.
No, it's a
don't know
fake
that much,
war
but-
because the lore never resolves the war. There's nothing that happens in this war.
There's never a
really.
conclusion. It's always supposed to be
And there's
ever
you're not even
unfolding
in a
and never
war.
ending, because if you end it, your
Okay,
game
but
is
in
done.
Rune- okay,
Yeah,
but in
so
RuneScape-
grief the
in
other
RuneScape-
faction. You can only play in battlegrounds. Really, like you can
Yeah.
try to grief them by being a huge mob of dudes, but the game really doesn't support it.
It's not meant for that.
And so, like, you literally your factions are a load of horse crap, and yeah, and the only now with Battle for Azeroth. The only time that wars are actually producing warlike effects, people are getting outraged. They're getting upset because their World of Warcraft has actual war consequences in it. Like, the life tree's been destroyed. Sylvanas is a monster. And she's doing monstrous things for real results.
the horde.
For the Horde. Oh, well, not my Horde. My Horde's honorable and peaceful. It's like, well, no. Get out of here. This is a war. Everyone should be dead. And guess what? Who's the best dead person around? Guess what? Sylvanas.
So if your narrative conflicts with your not pay to win. I don't want to say pay to win. Like your subscriber base. If your narrative clashes with your subscriber
When
base.
did this become a discussion about like free to play versus non free to play?
Well, like,
We're talking about games being shit.
Free to play and non
Well,
free to
that's
play.
kinda
World of
weird
Warcraft is shit because it doesn't even know what it is.
This new
What is World of Warcraft?
I think free
It's
to
a
play
shitty MMO that like pretends that it's
That
a
has
game
all
about
this
war.
money
So-
about being the best MMO.
games
Well, it's
that
the
have an
oldest.
identity crisis don't make for good
Well, one of
games. They
them.
make for shit games.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
games
sorry.
never know
The
what they
original
are.
part of that was the Fallout 76 part of them trying to,
Fallout 76 doesn't know what it is.
figure something else out, and they fuck
Yeah,
up
It doesn't
for
it
know
has
whether
no
to
vision
compete or
because
other
they
than the
did,
vision of
because
how
they
we can
wanted
make
into this new
microtransactions.
game multiplayer microtransaction part, but they just completely threw away the thing that made them a very successful game.
Fallout
market.
76 advertised, if I remember correctly, at the Super Bowl.
Did it?
I
Yeah.
think you're
Probably.
correct.
I think it was the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It was
It
either
probably-
Super Bowl or like another
They-
like
they
major
put out
sporting
kind of
event.
like a
And that-
player-
that's
like
a perfect-
trailer.
It's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, where it's like the jockey sport bros, sort of have taken over gaming, quote unquote. And it's just because there's a lot more jockey sport bros in the world than like weedy nerd bros.
No. It's because gaming has become more accepted and prevalent.
Oh, jockey sports bros.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
jockey sport bros open their wallets to video games.
Yeah, well, I'm not
That's
saying
not just for
but
nerds,
because you were
bro.
saying there's more jockey sports, but there's not. It's just that gaming has kind of not
In the
has
gaming
kind of
market.
gotten
Gaming
more
has
into-
made competition and the things that don't originally make gaming successful, i.e. good quality games that
Yes,
are really
yes,
fucking fun to play.
I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah,
is that
like,
they're trying to make less quality games to make them more inclusive and make more money.
competition versus nerd.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, not
when-
necessarily competition, but just more transaction money.
Yes.
What?
Just
Calicar's having a slight.
I'm
What?
having
No,
a
what?
conniption here.
Yeah. What? What?
Well, yes, it's by introducing the more competition element and the market demands of the people that are, dude, PC Master Race competition is best kind of bros, right? E-jocks, we'll call them,
Sure,
because
yeah.
they can't make it as real jocks. You've opened up the market for shitty consumer whores that are bad. Like they don't play games because they're good. They play games because they're competitive and they need tight competitive controls.
Yes.
All right. The other problem is the classic gaming audience, which still exists, right, and may even be a majority. All right. They don't play the games for fucking esports.
Yeah.
They play the games because they want a puzzle box to puzzle with.
Yes.
Right? And sometimes they want bench games to play with each other, and like if there's tiers in that, it's not really a big deal because you're just playing with your bros on a couch. Right? The problem is money. More money comes from esports. And that kind of stuff. Like these guys open their wallets faster. They're not as they're less frugal with their money. They don't give a shit. Right? As long as it looks good, it doesn't matter. It's one of the reasons why, PlayStation 2 and 3 and then the Xboxes took off, whereas like Nintendo always sort of dogged it in the back. They always were subtly in the background because graphics are more important than gameplay. And they always have been suddenly. Nintendo kind of put that on itself. But anyway.
But that's also companies making it more important with their, we have the 4K hardware.
But the problem is it comes from the market wanting more of that shit, which
Yeah, they want
values
sports.
the things that we want.
They want esports, and they want competitive sports, and they want this other stuff. But for
Well,
all
it's
of
not
that
just
stuff to
competitiveness,
exist,
but yeah, okay.
you need top tier graphics to compete against each other because the gameplay doesn't exist. There's no narrative, so you can't compete on narrative.
Yeah.
So you can't have good writing.
Yeah.
You can't compete on gameplay because all the gameplay is the same. Like because you're selling to this consumer mass audience. When they're shooters, they want shooters with tight controls, and they just want shooters. Different kinds of guns. This gun shoots purple beams. That's sweet. I like purple beams. But as long as the
also
purple
like
beams can hit the target,
The
I'm
Needler
happy.
was a good gun. I like that Needler.
There you go. See?
You're a needler player. Oh,
Dude,
So the only
no,
reason-
I was a dual wielder.
you
Needler.
piece of shit.
Fucking master.
You are
Snipers and
shit.
shotties.
Shotty snipes.
That's so bad. I hate that game.
Fuck you.
I played with the Destroyer, I think it was called, or whatever the one, the brute gun. I like Brute Gun. Brute Gun.
That sounds about right. I don't even fucking
I think it was called the
remember.
Brute Gun.
I haven't played Halo in so long. I'm so disappointed with
I hated
where
that game.
I'm so disappointed with where that franchise has gone. I'm not even gonna get into it.
3-4-3 run into the ground.
4 was okay.
Master Chief is
4
irrelevant.
was
I love it.
4 was okay. It was okay.
It had a half-baked story and
Oh,
then a secondary half-baked story that was multiplayer
What was that
focused.
Halo game where you don't play as Master Chief?
Oh, ODST.
Breach or ODST.
Reach.
I like, that was
Yeah,
my
Reach
favorite.
Also
and
Reach.
ODST,
Also
yeah.
Reach.
I think it was ODST anyway. But that was my favorite Halo game because it made Master Chief irrelevant because it showed that any Spartan anywhere or non-Spartan or whatever the hell you played in those games were just as strong as Master Chief. If
Well,
not
no, that was
stronger.
just- that was just what the game-
It's
that
just
was what
the
the-
game's always focused on the
the
cheat.
gameplay
Yeah,
implied
Master Chief
that.
sucks.
It-
He's actually
it-
trash because in
in
number
the
1
lore-
and 2, he never fought 2 or 3 tanks.
Well,
at once.
in the
These guys just do.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever, no big deal.
In the
It's
lore,
nothing. It
not
means
as much.
nothing.
In the gameplay, yeah, they kind of. fucking
Well, there's
dropped the ball.
the lore and the
Although
gameplay
the
are the same,
firefight,
right?
the firefight game mode was pretty cool.
Yeah, firefight was
Firefight was pretty great. So, anyway, do you want to weigh in on any of this? Come on, let's go. Please. Floor is open.
Floor is open.
Yes.
I just think there's two gaming markets. Anyway, keep going.
There is two gaming sides, basically, the jocks and the nerds. We're back to the same old discussion.
I
school-ground
so
fucking
hate
thing
calling it that because it doesn't need to be.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't
need
need
but
to
it's what it
be,
is.
but it's I guess, yeah.
It's people who want to be competitive versus people who don't necessarily want to be
Okay,
competitive.
Yeah.
Look,
And
The nerds don't want to be competitive.
No.
And if they do, it's in a different format.
Yeah, and I guess AAA Industries decided they're going to focus on the jocks because the jocks spend more money, and now everybody's in a fucking uproar, and nothing is coming out of decent quality.
I would
because
add, if
the
you
faster
focused on the
turn it
jocks,
over-
you sometimes get the nerds too.
I
Because
was gonna
sometimes
say,
nerds
that's
like
the
like
thing.
games
The
too.
over encompass of that was the majority.
This is why I think there's this crisis in gaming, because the nerds bought into these games because they were gamers, they bought games, and they got like slowly boiled into becoming e-jocks. And now they're like, where are my good games? And it's like, sorry bro, you don't have good games anymore because you bought into e-jock sports. Right? And now you're looking back and you're going, oh, well, all those indies over there.
But that's
look
why you
pretty
need to
good.
speak with your wallet. That's why you need to speak with
Well,
your
and
wallet.
they're doing that.
I am
Yeah.
so glad because I know the biggest argument I've ever heard is don't fucking pre-order a single goddamn game until you know
No,
exactly what
because
comes out.
it
And
comes into
I am
the
so glad I
early
didn't
purchase
pre-order Fallout 76 because I was very close to pre-ordering it because I was like, oh, I love these Fallout games. I love the last 3 of them. 4 was not like the best game, but like I still thought it was pretty good. And like 3 in New Vegas were fucking awesome, so like maybe I'll pre-order it, but I didn't. And then this hot garbage pile came out, and I was like, well, fuck, I'm really glad I didn't, because I'm not gonna fucking buy that game ever.
Yeah.
So, and just, you know, that's
someone who like pretty much exclusively plays single player games, unless it's like for example, Dark Souls shoehorns in the fact that you have to play multiplayer. Like you can turn off the online and not do it, which is honestly more fun. But as someone who's really enjoyed like JRPGs and like single players for the past like 20 years, I can honestly say that this jock versus nerd mentality has really affected the single player to the point where AAA people like Ubisoft and things like that are saying that we don't need single player games anymore.
Yeah, no.
Which is a huge fucking delusion.
the thing. The AAA
They've gone to so
developers
far
have gotten
one
into
side.
Yeah,
that.
so like as a single player guy that like, you know, loves my single player, I don't like fucking playing with the cancer that is humanity.
It's
My games have been ruined and I now have to look towards indie developers and Kickstarters
And Nintendo.
and Nintendo to basically give me a good game.
Yeah.
And like
It's
I
But that's why
don't-
you have to speak with your wallet.
well.
like I
also-
speak with my wallet and then like I try to buy into like these roguelike games and stuff like that because roguelikes
I
are
don't
a
think
really
I've ever
big
actually
thing
played
like
a
that.
roguelike game.
But like they just they aren't.
They're alright.
yeah.
There's no completion. It's
No.
this thing where,
Well, that's the
where
point.
the
The
narrative.
point is
They build up big narratives. They want to do all these things. They give you a good art style and stuff like that. But the problem is that they always need to be making either two things. They need to be making money or they need to be making interest.
So now let's add the third element that why games suck. Because there's jocks and there's nerds, but we're only talking about boys. There's a third faction.
Gamer girls.
Women.
Where's my Twitch?
Where's
girl?
my women's? Women are valuable members of the gaming community.
You see, I don't even I bring that in because I just
That's-
assume. I mean, as a male consumer of games, I just assume they're kind of part of the same games.
They're not.
But I know they aren't.
They're
but that's
not.
just because I don't actually know any.
Because
fucking
they're a
different.
different audience, a third audience,
Yeah.
an audience that came even after them. And now,
Yeah, but dating sims are pretty cool. So.
there's nothing wrong
I'm
with
just
games
kidding.
geared-
I'm just kidding.
Dating sims are pretty cool.
No, but I'm kidding that that's a girl game.
It is a girl game.
It's dating sims doesn't inherently mean it's a girl game.
No, but it is a girl game.
Yo, I want
The Sims is
I
a
play
dating
Dream Daddy
sim.
because I
No.
want to date some boys. Okay.
No matter
All right.
like what the industry assumes,
You-
like,
you
the
can make
industry
fun
makes
of it.
Broad assumptions about.
You
I
can
know,
make fun
I
of
know,
it.
I know, but I'm just saying it's.
But
got
millions
real
of women are currently
sad.
playing Bejeweled.
Yeah.
And would you call them part of the same collective audience as everyone else?
Oh,
No.
absolutely not.
Crush.
No.
Absolutely not.
And don't
Candy
you
Crush players,
Candy
gamers.
Crush, Farmville, you know, those games that you can just pick up, you know, whenever you want. That my mom picks up because
You
you know
mean
it's kind
the
of fun. Slot
non-competitive?
machine games is what we're gonna call
I
them.
can't believe I've seen those apps with the slot machines where you have it and then you press it and then it does the slot.
I studied
and
a
then
lot
you
of
get,
game
and then you
design,
do, you get it, and then you just press it
You
again.
make games differently for women than you do for men. They're an
and then you
entirely
press it
different
again.
audience.
But like, there is literally no payoff. Like, you're just sitting here pressing a slot on your phone, just ad infinitum.
Did you know?
Like, what the fuck?
Did you know that slot machines were originally made for the wives of gamblers so that they would have something to pump money into while the husbands played at the tables?
Really?
That's a fact. Look it up.
Jeez.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Because women like shiny things and they like to be entertained. In
They
the
like to pull
lowest...
big ball levers.
That's right. They like to pull big levers. I'm a big but it's a fact. That's right. Slot machines are geared towards women.
Press the button slots need to burn in hell. If I'm going to play
Sexism.
slots, I want to pull that big ass lever. And I will
Now,
fucking
I'm just
roll
going to
that
add
shit.
here that while we're talking about men and women and jocks and nerds, we are talking in aggregates, which isn't representative of individuals.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting.
We're talking about aggregates here.
Yes.
So, like, there are gamer girls, just as there are slot machine playing men, and there are nerds that play esports, and fucking jocks that play fucking
I mean, it's kind of
puzzle
sad
box
that we
games.
actually have to make this addendum anyway.
We do have to make this
Yes.
addendum
Yes, we
because
do.
I know, but it's sad that
because
we do.
as a result of women entering the marketplace, we get all of the shit that gets brought in with women, and that is
Yeah, but you know what? Understandably so, because like they are very excluded from a lot of this market, and it's pretty.
Yeah,
unique.
which?
Yeah.
What market are women excluded from?
Well, just the fact that
pick one. Name one.
JRPGs where all the women are big-titted.
Yeah, they're
half-dressed
excluded from that.
nonsense.
That's why they cosplay as them.
All the women cosplay as that, or just,
I'm not gonna
or,
say
or
all
just
the
the
women.
few women who cosplay as it that you see on
We're
Instagram because they're
aggregate.
because they're
Oh,
Instagram
okay.
popular.
Yeah.
because
So
they did
which women
that.
are excluded?
Oh, tons of women.
Yeah, tons of women cosplay too. So now that we're all speaking in fucking vague terms and we can't name what we're talking about, let's just pretend that we're not speaking in vague terms at all. It's just talking in aggregate. Nobody's getting excluded. Anybody can pick up the game. If they want to pick it up, great. If they don't like the characters that are being portrayed, like the women that are being portrayed, why? I don't know, but whatever. Then they can all band together and make their own game. And they do. And some of them turn out really great. There are really excellent game developers that are women that make really great characters.
I think breaking up the video game community into these aggregates
But-
is kind of what makes us shit.
That horse shit right there, where you're like, women are being excluded from these puzzle box games that are mostly dominated by men in the industry.
I don't have
Those
a
are the guys
spread,
who open
thank
their
you.
wallet tabs. So we're gonna have to bring women in. So we're gonna have to change the puzzle box, change the character design from what
I don't
sells
think I actually
to
said
what
that
we
once.
think
in
women
any,
might
I don't
sell.
think I said that once in anything I said.
You did. You
I
said
never said
we
that
excluded.
puzzle box games need to be.
No.
You talked about
exclusive
Final
to women.
Fantasy and the women and things like that.
I was saying that the
exclude
women
them.
being portrayed in these games are very unrepresentative of how women are, and that it's
How?
very
I would say
unrep-
that
it's
How
that
are
women
women?
are turned off from games like that. Because
How are women?
I'm not trying to be a feminist here because I mean,
But
I
you're
guess
saying
innately I'm
things that
not.
I have to challenge because you're speaking in a disgusting
But
aggregate.
when you have a game,
How are women?
when you have games where the women that are being represented in them are being very subjectively or are being very objectified,
Oh.
it's
men
kind
are
of
How?
hard.
objectified in games.
No, no, wait,
the
no, wait,
giant
no, wait,
pets?
no, wait, no,
Okay,
let's
okay,
stop this.
yeah.
Let's talk this out. How are they being objectified?
Big old titties, right?
Well, yeah, that's
So
one,
big-titted
or-
women don't exist?
That's
I know there are complaints from
Okay,
big-titted
but-
women that
okay,
are
okay,
complaining
well,
now
if you're gonna
because
make-
there are no more big-titted women.
if
Because
you're gonna make
they
that
can't play
argument,
women
is
of
there
their
big
body
dick
type
men
because
all over
all of the
these games, or
prudes
is it
decided
just a
to come
bunch
in
of
and say they have
different
to make the
men?
women more modest.
okay. So if you're making the argument, is there a bunch of just big dick men sitting out there, or is it just a bunch of?
I know
just
I'm not a
different
big dick
dudes?
man, but I'm sure they
I'm not
exist.
jacked
That's
as
what I'm
fuck.
saying.
And
Those
just,
guys
if
are
women like
either.
big dicks, then
No.
why don't we give women big dicks, man? It's a fucking video game. Make the boys fan service. Why do you
can
think
have big dicks if they want?
women like the
Whatever,
fucking all sorts of cool
that's
shit?
all I'm
They
saying.
do you not think they make those men for women? Look at the Final Fantasy characters; they're all fucking effeminate because all the women like little girly men.
All the women like effeminate girly men.
In a market sense, yeah. In the
it-
same way that
in
all the
an
guys
aggregate-
like
That also
kind of big
sounds like
titted
an aggregate
girls.
sense.
I do
Well,
speak
that-
in
that's the
aggregates.
thing,
I already
when
said
you're
that.
Speaking in aggregates, it's like when you're speaking in aggregates, you're not trying to do like the super critical, make sure that like the 1% is represented. Like it's kind of hard to do that when you're having a discussion.
There's always going to be someone who doesn't
there's
agree.
Always
Like,
going to be someone.
I don't
I'm not
like
saying-
it.
I'm
Flat
not
is
saying we need
justice,
to make a
baby.
game that has
But
to
you know
please
what?
everybody.
Not every man
Yeah.
agrees with me. All right? Most men don't think flat is justice. Most men want big, bubbly boobies. All right? So,
I like me some takeover.
And to the other end, we have all of our male protagonists having like Arnold Schwarzenegger type bodies where they've been fucking juicing since day one for the exact same reason.
either
Because
that or their JRPG bodies where they're just like,
Yeah.
they're glorious, like, 14-year-old man children.
look at me, I'm
That's why.
14,
That's why I like.
I'm
That's why I like
perfect.
Sneaky.
Like,
Sneaky is great.
like these bodies and these representations in video games are meant to get people. Like you've
Yeah.
got hot guys.
No-
in video
no
games for the
dude
same
wants to
reason.
play
You
as
got hot
Zidane,
chicken girl in video games.
But the ladies do like themselves the cat boy.
I do like
like,
Jesus.
like it isn't as much as we're trying to exclude women purposely. It's that the games are just built to
Nobody's
cater to fantasies purposely. Like it isn't male representation to say that every like the Warhammer guys, for example, are unfathomably jacked and just out of there. Like that peak performance male meme. sort of
Warhammer
thing.
is not for women.
Like that's
If
kind
women
of where
get
they
into
go,
Warhammer,
right?
it's not because they it's because they're the outliers who get into cool shit that men like.
We-
all right, the target audience of Warhammer is not women, because Warhammer is not about the things that women like. Warhammer is about fucking people dying endlessly in a morose, sad world where bodies are infinite. Because man fucks enough people to make more men to die in the giant grindhouse that is life. And then the giant insect monsters, they fuck enough and make enough eggs to fucking make enough people to grind against the men. And the fucking orcs are basically infinite because they grow out of the ground. Like everything is just death. There's nothing happy in that world. There's nothing to even cling. There's no hope there.
Everyone's hot in video games because everybody likes hot people. It's like we don't put really jacked guys and really big booped girls because only guys like that. We do it because it's mass appeal and we try to generalize as much as we possibly can.
yes.
And like the problem with bad video games is we stop generalizing and we stop trying to make them for everybody, and then we start to kind of focus on the people that are throwing out money, and then we start making games for them.
No woman wants to
Like
play
what?
as an ugly chick.
No, and no guy
No.
wants to play as a fucking wimpy little wispy dude who can't do shit either.
But I'm not saying okay, but like if you're bringing up Undertale, like that's just a little girl. I'm pretty sure it's a girl, right? Just doing
It is
whatever.
a sexless child that has never determined what they are.
People have
doing
just sort of
whatever the
assumed
fuck
it's
they
a girl.
are. People just assume that what they are is what they are.
Okay, sorry,
But the game never...
I didn't know if it was determined or
Yeah,
not.
no. The
even
game never-
the name, like even in Deltarune where it's the same character, they named him Chris, but it's like spelt like the female version of Chris.
They're highly ambiguous because Undertale and its designers understand the game is supposed to be generalized and mass appeal.
Yes, okay.
That's why people
Yeah.
really loved it, where you could fit yourself into anything.
Okay, yeah,
That's
yeah.
why Deltarune's success is
Oh my
amplified
god, we tripped a mine here.
because they
Oh, no.
keep doing that stuff.
This is his favorite game.
I love Undertale and Deltarune. I will try not
I
to
can't
go
believe
crazy
you.
over it, but like this is that generalized thing. Like we don't like as designers, I don't think they're purposely trying to leave people out.
They don't leave
They're
people
trying
out.
to
100%
generalize
they
as much
don't.
as they possibly can.
They play to market appeal. Sometimes, yeah.
But
Sometimes
didn't you
in
say
some
that was
markets,
a problem with the jocks versus nerds thing, where
it's
trying
because it's two different markets.
trying to do
And
a
now
mass
the-
appeal to jocks was a problem?
It's multiple markets.
Yes.
Okay? If you're trying to appeal to three separate markets, the fucking Farmville bejeweled microtransaction market mixed with the esports e-jock PC Master Race market mixed with the Nerd Boys
Single-player Dark Souls fanatics.
like market, like deep lore market. You try to mix this all together, jumble it up into a big box, and throw it at people, you're gonna get shit. You're gonna get a bunch of women who go, what the fuck am I playing? This is garbage. This doesn't even have any fucking social interaction in it. The e-jocks be like, the gunplay shit, and why is there microtransactions?
There's no competitive
Like,
play.
I don't give a shit about fucking costumes, bro. And then you get the e-guys being all like, why am I playing this shitty online human cancer competitive game with a bunch of garbage microtransactions? Like, but
This one's me.
these three game audiences, these market audiences don't exist. All right, like altogether, like they don't exist. They exist in a bubble. They're separate. Okay, you make a game for one audience. Okay, if the AAA titles want to go for the e-jock thing, stop putting fucking Bejeweled shit in there to try to attract a female audience. Battlefield 5. Okay?
It's everyone's Battlefield.
It's everyone's Battlefield because we want women in gaming. Fuck you! I don't want to hear your shit.
No, I want to hear what he has to say. This guy doesn't talk all fucking podcast. This guy gets to fucking talk. What the fuck do you have to say?
Fine. His horse shit about how
Shut
women
the
with
fuck up.
prosthetics can totally fight tanks. Our Battlefield.
I would love-
Hashtag, it's beautiful. Let's go.
What is up?
I have no problem with there being women in the game.
In a war.
Nobody has any problem with that.
Okay, yeah.
And like a Battlefield war game. This
Okay,
is where we're
that's
at,
not the
okay?
controversial
Yes.
part.
Okay, yes.
But when you start changing the world to fit that ideal,
History.
yes, you start
Real
changing-
world history.
Okay, wait.
Sorry,
Sorry, I'm
reality. Yes.
actually out of the loop on this. What the fuck?
Okay, so
Okay.
Battlefield went through a really big kerfuffle with the media
Yeah.
because it portrayed women with prosthetics in war as
Like-
being like the sole force
World War
behind
II.
World War II, and people said
Like
hey,
it was a
we don't-
major focus point in their marketing campaign, to the point where they had the British woman soldier with a prosthetic arm on the box cover as the main person.
Hey, we don't want to change history, but we want to include people.
So we're changing
here
history
you go. We're
times,
changing
twofold.
history.
It's
Yeah.
it's women and it's also bionic women.
And then
They-
their,
they
their
also-
real historical narrative like replaced an entire troop of like Polish men with 2 women.
Norwegian
Norwegian men.
commandos went in and attacked a hard water plant run by the Nazis during World War II. This actually happened. They were horribly whatever.
There's like 10 of them.
They replaced that and what they did, which was a huge thing, with 2 chicks.
A mom and her
A
daughter.
mom and her daughter.
Not soldiers.
No.
Hashtag
a
women do it
mom and
better.
her daughter.
Okay, well
And
that
they
just
went in and soloed
that
the
just
whole
sounds like
thing and
absolutely
then sank
terrible
a submarine.
writing.
Yeah, and then like in-
besides the fact that it's them trying to shoehorn women in there in the most
but that's
abusive,
why.
aggressive way possible, that's
they
also
could
just
have done it
terrible
correctly.
writing. That's
They
also
could
just terrible writing. Like
No,
if it
no,
was
no,
2
no,
men,
no.
it would have been fucking bad in general.
No,
like
it would have been great if they had it the way it was
That's
supposed
what I'm
to
saying.
be.
If it was like the 10 squad guys, but if it was 2 bionic men doing with the dad and his son doing
Yeah,
the
but
same
there is no
I'm not
bionics.
trying to, again, do this as a fucking feminist thing, but I'm saying it's not bad because it's women. It's bad because it's fucking bad.
bad 'cause it's
It's bad because it's
inaccurate.
bad.
It's inaccurate.
But that's the
And
problem.
because they tried to shoehorn it with women in there to try and make it better.
Selling
Because
your
they figured that
ideology-
they
They
could
figured that because,
Yeah.
oh, it's women, it's fun.
Yeah, because the
No.
Bejeweled audience
That's-
is gonna get like is
That's-
gonna come in on our Call of
That's
Duty
what I
game.
mean.
shoving
That's what I mean.
shoving
Like-
ideals down people's throat and forcing this is a huge thing in sales that they tell you about. Like we had to do sales things at the fucking Fat Panda and stuff like that. I've had to study sales. People don't like being
Docs
told.
Fat Panda, good job.
Yep, you did it.
My bad. Sorry,
Nice,
Fat Panda.
nice job.
Buy my merch at fatpanda/wilduran.com.
Yeah, buy those fakes.
Whoa.
Don't buy Smock. Get Sigelli. Anyway, the big. I forgot what to say. Fuck's sakes. People don't like knowing that you're selling to them.
Yes.
So as soon as you change your narration to sell to more people, people have this red flag thing. Like I don't know where it's from or like what it's been proven to.
It's-
but people don't like being sold to, and
They don't like being
even more,
targeted.
They,
They
don't
want
like being
the
targeted
choice.
for that.
The
shit.
thing is, they want the choice.
They
to,
want to be
They
inclu-
want the personal choice to do it themselves. They don't want to be pressured into it
They
by
want
other
your friend
people.
to
They wanna
come
be
and show
included,
you
but
the
not
cool thing,
intense-
Yeah.
and be like, "This is cool, right? Like I'm your friend showing you this. Like this is awesome." And people are like, kind of like, "Oh yeah, that is kind of cool." But as soon as you like turn it around, like literally fist
Look,
them
it's
up the
women!
shoulder, and you're like, "Ideology!" You ruin your narrative, and then you ruin it by selling it to
The
them
worst
too.
part
Yes.
is you could have gone soft. You could have put like a pinky in first and maybe then gotten the whole fist because there were women who fought in World War II.
That's
There
the
were
trick.
tons.
That's the trick. That's exactly how you do it.
But there were women that fought in World War II and they were badasses.
Exactly.
The only problem is they were Russians.
But
They weren't
Oh, we don't like Russians, boys.
No,
Oh,
excuse me.
The most favorite one.
Australians are the big hot problem right now. Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Whoa. Our new games are shit has become why Australia is shit.
But yeah, anyway,
Did you
that
know
was
that?
the most.
Did you know
That's the
that?
one that's the most publicized right now.
Yeah.
Like, where
Yeah,
they're
the
like,
last
this
few
is the
years
most
of the
obvious
Australian
example.
bad
There was
guys.
literally a squad of sniper women that ran around being badasses
Yes.
and shooting
Or there
Germans.
was that Russian woman in the
yeah.
tank where her husband died in the war, and then like she was like, all right, she went and like got a tank,
Yeah,
and
she
then went and
went
made
and
her
purchased-
own tank group and
Fucking
fucked up a bunch of
badass.
Nazis. She fucked up a bunch of Nazis. Well, not herself,
So-
but like
so-
as her own
Yeah.
group.
Okay.
www.wikipedia.com
/ women.
search women in World War II, and I'm sure they could have found a whole bunch of great stories that they could have adapted for their goddamn stupid game. But they're so fucking dumb that they decided that instead of doing that, they're going to do something else. They're going to do, they know best, and they're going to try to make a clusterfuck instead of just trying to, you know, they're going to throw your whole fist unlubed into their ass instead of one pinky with a little bit of like butter on it, maybe, you know.
Olive oil.
Little
Olive oil
oil,
is a
you know.
vegetarian.
Okay,
maybe.
olive oil. There you go.
Yeah.
We're just gonna use egg whites.
As long as it's free range.
Egg
Thank
whites
you.
have cruelty in them, actually.
Free range.
Lots of cruelty.
So soybean oil or nothing.
Yes.
But get
No,
What?
these are all
Badass.
valid points, and that's exactly what
There's-
that's exactly what I meant. Like,
there's
that's-
no problem with, in my opinion, there's no problem with including that kind of story into a war setting.
like
But
women
you
in
have,
the war state.
yeah, but you
Absolutely
have to
there
do
is.
it
And it's
right.
been
No
done.
problem whatsoever.
If there was a problem with including women in any setting whatsoever, Laura Croft wouldn't be a thing.
100%.
Sure.
Also,
Laura Croft would be the arm candy of like Learn Croft, you know, and like Lauren, like
Lawrence
Larry Croft, Larry
it's
Croft,
Derek
the
Croft,
big
they-
dick dude who's got a hat who just goes around, and at the end of every level he's just like Laura, and then Laura comes on and gives him a kiss on the cheek. He says, "Good job, boys.
See, here's
Good
the thing.
job. I baked you some cookies." But that didn't happen because Laura Croft's a badass, and everybody accepts badass girls because they're actually kind of cool.
you guys know about the Uncharted games, right?
No, what?
Okay, so the
Sounds
Uncharted
familiar.
games are
How awesome
basically
was the
the
sister?
adventure of Indiana Jones,
basically. Yeah.
but
Yes.
you're a young 30-year-old guy.
Yes.
So they're ripping off Tomb Raider, basically. So
no,
when-
they're ripping off Indiana Jones.
okay, but Tomb Raider ripped off Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
So
it's-
it's fair. Okay,
Yes.
so while we're all being rip-offs of Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider came first. So when Nathan Drake and his adventures started coming along, they just called him like male Tomb Raider. Like there's a specific name, I can't remember what it is right now, but it was a huge joke. They're like, look, this guy is literally just trying to copy like the Tomb Raider games to be like, oh yeah, guys can be Tomb Raiders too. Like, this goes both ways. Like, when we make strong female characters that are really successful, we try to make strong male characters that
That'll
are
give
really
us a
successful.
bigger male audience because
Because-
males are obviously sexist
Yeah,
and
'cause-
didn't buy Tomb Raider.
Because video games are male and guys just can't relate to women at all, even especially strong women. So we gotta make them a dumbed down version of the men. And like this is something that it's just like the video game.
That's
The video game things they're
that's
just
a
like
societal problem.
they're trying to put like it's the stupid video game thing where they're like, okay, you guys belong here, you guys belong here,
That's
you
the
guys belong here, and you guys can't have
Intersectional ideology
anything
where it's
that,
like
that mixes
real.
or matches.
Yeah.
Oh god, I wish my head was clearer right now. Everything is based on racial class and sexist classes. Like it's like a
And by separating-
identitarianism.
This is a really big sociology thing because in sociology they divide everybody by sex.
Yeah, that's
age,
all horseshit.
Class, all those kinds of things, and this is what video games does. And then what they
That's
do is
that's
they
them
make,
speaking in aggregate, but politics.
and then they make
Uh-oh.
inaccurate representations, or they basically take what they see as truth and boil it down to the worst possible outcome, and then they make Fallout 76 to try to be as broad as possible. But really, it's just a piece of crap that's selling microtransactions.
Because once again,
they,
like
they
what we
stuck a
keep
blank
coming back
canvas
to.
on the wall and called it
What
art.
we keep coming back to is they don't focus on a single target audience. They have, and some people were calling it vision. Some people are calling it like no direction. But really, what it is you got to focus on a target audience. Fallout 76 is target audience is nobody.
Yeah.
It literally is nobody. Like you can't play competitively because they took the competition out because they didn't want the Bejeweled crowd to get alienated because there was too many like trolls, right? So, and they didn't want a lot of like they didn't want to make it a single player experience because they wanted that sweet multiplayer money, which includes the other two groups, right? But they had to keep it a Fallout
where
game
everyone
because it
is,
was originally part of one of these, it was originally in Group A, the puzzle box games. So they diversified into like too many markets, and now they just got garbage, and it just looks like a huge cash grab.
Yeah.
But that's
like,
that's
if
what
you look
it
at
is.
the trailers, I don't think they had like. Obviously they did, but like if you look at the trailers, it's like on paper there's a good idea there, where it's a multiplayer based like survival sim.
The game's beautiful.
And where the more popular and where the more powerful you get,
If you look at the
basically
environments, it's
more,
beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous.
No, but like the more
Doesn't make any
powerful you
sense,
get, the
but
more
it's
targeted you
gorgeous.
get.
There's
right?
lots of cool shit in there. There's no reason for it to exist, and there's nothing. You get nothing for actually exploring anything.
Yeah. Like you don't there's no real world benefit to grinding to 120 or whatever the max level is in fucking Fallout. And
Did you hear about the bag kerfuffle?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a big problem.
Such fucking.
that's a different. It's like new games are shit because we do pre-orders.
No,
I
and
just think
we
that's
have to do
I just think
things
it's
that
fucking
draw you to the
hilarious
pre-orders.
that they tried to pull that, and then that their PR team tried to fucking.
The best part was they sent the good bags to the influencers.
Yeah.
Oh really?
It wasn't
Yeah.
even the
Really?
good bag.
They actually got good
They
bags.
said that there wasn't enough canvas.
Yes.
That they
yeah.
couldn't buy
Well,
enough?
no. Okay, so no. So they said that guy who said there wasn't enough canvas was a contract guy, and that he actually didn't know any fucking better,
Oh, that's
and that they
Yeah,
actually didn't. The material, there wasn't enough materials to make the bag, and not that they didn't have enough money or something bullshit like that. Yeah, that was what they reverse covered up their reverse ass about.
Except the interesting part is they gave everybody a $5 refund in basically e-bucks for their
No,
game.
500
And if you look at
if you apply
yeah,
for it.
which is roughly
But-
$5.
But you can't buy the bag in game with that many items.
Yeah, but you can buy the bag with that. Like, if you had that in cash, you could buy that from their distributor that bought the bags for that price. That's why
Really?
they gave you 500 atoms.
Really?
Because that was the price of the bag.
Wow.
Jeez.
$4.99.
I didn't know that part.
Yep, $4.99. You could just buy it from some Chinese company. The exact canvas bag they promised. And they just gave him $5. That's why the number 500. That's why they gave you $5. Because that's what they would have bought it for. That $200 like special edition purchase, all that merch
Really
probably
cost you $10.
All that hot.
It was like
The helmet
it was
costs
around.
$5, the bag costs $5, every other game or whatever is all fucking
What if we
in
cut it
there.
down from 5 to 2? Yo, you're brilliant.
That probably
Jesus Christ.
the special that $200 special edition box set probably cost them in printing,
$50 to $75.
Oh yeah,
way
it's,
less,
No,
way
I
less.
mean,
it's
Way
no
less?
way.
25
Like
to
maybe
30
The
bucks.
helmet probably
Yeah.
cost.
I think
no.
I think
Once
that,
the mold
It's
was
made of
designed in a
plastic.
3D printer or
Yeah, but
whatever,
then-
and it was cast,
but they have
yeah,
to pay.
it was probably like $4
But they have to
per,
pay
per
for the
helmet.
design and the
You know how cheap
manufacturing of.
plastic is?
No, but they have to make the design of that helmet. They
That
have to
helmet was
make
That's
already
the mold.
pre-designed. They just had to do the mold.
Yeah.
But someone had to pay for that to be a thing.
Yeah.
But it's
somebody
not as
did, yes.
expensive as you think it is to buy a
I'm not
fucking
saying
special
it's
edition
crazy
helmet with
expensive,
it.
but I'm saying it's not like it's $1.
In the aggregate, yeah. I'm
In
talking about. I
aggregate,
talked about the
yes.
printing.
Yeah.
The point is, you are being bent over and
Oh,
dicked
oh,
over
no,
for fucking special
absolutely,
editions.
absolutely.
They made they
made
$25
They were selling
worth
it
of
40.
printing.
Yeah.
The design for that helmet probably took like 10 hours. Let's assume the guy
probably
charged
just
like
used the in-game
$100
design.
an hour. So the guy paid like what, $1,000 to get this helmet designed?
Not even. They probably
See
just
that-
used the in-game design.
Say that 20%
That's what I'm
of
saying,
the
they already
player
had the
base buys
assets.
it, like,
Yeah.
you're still making money.
But you still have to
off
make
of
like a
it.
mold. But like, what does that even account to? I don't know. I
The
can't
mold
even-
doesn't account for shit.
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is you're putting something into a printer or into something that
That's
there are machines
having
where
worked
you
for
put
a
in
printing
everything,
company. It's
and then it
like
just
it's,
cuts into
it's
things.
like $5,000 at most. Like,
Yeah.
It's like
But for a company like that, that's literally $0.
it's
It's-
a drop in the bucket.
It's literally
You've
$0.
you've paid
For people
tens of
paying
thousands of
$200
for people to design your game. Like, you've spent 90% of your shit on marketing and actually making the game. That 10% is just to make people, like, to fucking twist their arms into buying the special edition
Well,
so you
just
can make
just
more
get
money.
them some nice merch, you
Give
bastards.
them some nice merch, you bastards.
Like,
That's all it
why
is.
is your special
Let's
edition
give them a
box set
case for the
just a way to
game,
milk people?
but actually not give them the game.
We have
with
special
it.
editions
Yeah,
and all
that's
this
right.
kind of shit because it's so cheap for them to do and they make so much money.
And then
off it.
not and offer refunds to anybody who bought the physical copy of the game and didn't download it.
Special editions
Yeah.
aren't kicking companies in the balls. Like, look at Ubisoft. Like, the last Assassin's Creed had 5 different releases, including a normal, a special release, a super special release, an ultra release. and like
with
the
beta,
definitive edition.
with beta play.
With beta play, with the stupid online assassins, like
You
it's
see,
so
when Black Ops
dumb.
was first coming out, I remember looking at the Battle.net launcher and being like, "Hey, if you pre-order Black Ops, you get to play the beta one day ahead of everyone else.
That's not a beta.
One day. But then the open beta comes out. But you get to play it if you paid one day before everybody else. I was like, are you actually licking my balls
You
right
get
now?
24
One
hours to be
fucking
better
day?
than
I
everybody
actually
else.
couldn't believe it. I was like, really? You're thinking that I'm gonna buy this game beforehand for one motherfucking day ahead of time? I actually couldn't believe it. I was like, really? Is this where fucking pre-order bonuses have gotten you? That one day fucking pre-op is gonna be enough for people to buy it?
Apparently.
I couldn't believe it.
The AAA industry, I think the big problem is it puts out really crappy content designed to make you pay more for something that isn't even worth paying more, but because so many other people have bought into it, it's supposed to make it inherently valuable because
There are people
bought
paying
into it.
That's the thing. They're hoping the multiplayer base that comes with it will give it a leg to stand on.
But like, you're not depending on the product that you release to make you money.
That's exactly.
depending on
I
the
think that's
release
what
of
we've
other
also
people
said.
playing it and
That's what we've
liking
been
it.
talking about. Is that we haven't necessarily done that, but like, it's not about making a good game. It's about making a game that can stand on its own legs with a multiplayer base, and not actually a game that's actually good on its own merits.
Yeah.
Are multiplayer games just for multiplayer good on their own merits though?
Yeah, they can be.
They can be.
Fortnite
that's
Fortnite
that
is
market.
actually a good game that
Okay, yeah.
only has
Dark
cosmetics,
market.
and it has like I mean
And it's good what it does.
But what
because
it does is good, and it's a fun game, and it's free.
it
and
caters to that market
exactly, and there is
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, and it makes money, and like good for them. It's for
And
cosmetics
Fortnite
only.
is also catering to kids.
Yes.
So it's like got the jock market, but it's also like it's real bright and pretty and it caters
Yeah,
to
but
children.
that doesn't
kids
even-
before
playing-
Call of Duty and
Kids
stuff
playing
like that.
soccer.
Yeah, it's
like-
baby's
kids
first.
playing
It's
soccer.
baby's first battle royale in the best way possible.
Baby's first shooter.
Yeah.
Baby's first online shooter before Call of Duty and
Yes.
Battle.
And it
It's
does
because
great.
they had building and crafting a lot, but it doesn't even matter. But it's because it's
what makes the
I'm-
game
it,
interesting.
it
I'm
doesn't
sure-
matter. It's a good game that is free, and that's just
Like,
it. It's a good game
I'm
that's free.
sure Fortnite is good on its own merits.
Yeah.
And like it's got its own things going for it. But yeah, it's this baby's first shooter.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
like,
it is.
but it lives and dies by the fact that it has basically an unlimited player base at this point. Like, if no one plays that game, it's not worth anyone's time because there is a competitive aspect. I
No,
guess
that's
I don't
why
know if there's
free
an
to
esports
play
comp-
wants you to play. You're paying for.
Yeah.
You're
But like,
paying,
if your friends aren't playing it, is it really that fun to play by yourself? Like, I play PUBG by myself. It's pretty fun, but
no, it's trash.
playing in squads is way better.
Yeah.
It's way more fun.
100%.
And that's
I
what
play
I
Fortnite
was-
with squads with friends.
That's
and
kind
And
of
it's
what I
way
was saying
better, or
earlier.
do
Where
it.
it was like, all the guys, all the puzzle box nerds got boiled, like slowly boiled into becoming e-jocks.
Yeah.
They didn't realize what they were getting into, and now they're looking around and going, wait, what? These games are shit. This isn't even fun. I'm playing with friends, and I'm playing this game, and I thought this was like a free-to-play kind of fun game, like with lore and stuff. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a freaking, we might as well be playing football.
If we differentiate,
If I wanted to play football, I would have been a football player.
if
play
we,
football.
if we more properly distinguish the markets, would that make games better?
That's my personal take on it. I think is like now that we've sort of had this discussion, it's like if you build a puzzle game for puzzle players, like you build the puzzle blocks for the nerd boys, and there's sub markets in that too. But you know what I mean, like narrative single player games for people who want to play narrative single player games. You make a good multiplayer, like shoot 'em up, beat 'em up, whatever the hell for the boys who want to play.
For the bros.
Yeah.
For the
Well, that's
bros,
like-
for the
that's-
gamer bros, and then you make a game, the Bejeweled game for the Bejeweled players or whatever, like the
Yeah.
Farmville players and all that stuff. You want to get a game for
grindy
you want to get a good
casual.
game for girls.
casual.
Figure out what girls want and make a game exclusively for them. And I'm not talking about insulting their fucking intelligence with
Like doing stupid Barbie
Barbie's
games.
Pony Ride.
Yeah.
But you know what? Fuck me for even saying that, because I'm sure Barbie's Pony Ride did just fine amongst girls. Because I'm sure girls ate that up because they liked it.
I'm sure as the first
And us
as
bros
the
are
first
like, what a
games-
fucking stupid game that
But
insults
can I
their
say
intelligence.
on the first 2 points,
We're the
if
dummies.
you look at
Yeah, but it's not going to happen though.
no, but if you look
Like,
at
'cause
go ahead.
the AAA industry doesn't think that single player games will make money anymore.
Yeah, but
And
the
to
chi-
be
the-
fair, they don't.
I would
Not in
They
the same
do.
way
Wait,
that multiplayer
Can I say? So
Red
Red
like-
Dead
But
2.
that means that they need to focus on the market
Red-
that they're
okay,
going for.
So Red
Not
Dead.
trying
So
to
the
get
single player
both.
games are going to die then.
No, because
No.
the indie developers make single player games all the
There's
time.
always a market
'Cause they
for
don't
single player
compete.
Yes,
games.
there is a market, but you need to target that market. Like, so I'm bringing up Red Dead 2 because, and actually, I watched a couple good videos about it. It's that they're trying to bridge the line of like, so they're trying to have this open world, fun sandbox game, but they're also trying to have this like completely narrative
Narrative-rich single player
fucking completely.
experience.
You have to do it this way. There's no other way around it. This is just how you're gonna do it game. And they're trying to just mush that shit together. But instead, like you could have like fucking Legend of Zelda Sandbox or like an
And Breath of the Wild.
Uncharted fucking game where it's like, okay, it's one or the other, but you can't have both because if you're trying to have both, everybody's upset.
You can't
Nobody
have
is
your-
getting their full experience out of it, and it's leaving everybody with a bitter taste in their
You
mouth.
can't have your cake and eat it
That's
too.
yeah,
in
not really the
gaming
problem with
industry.
Red Dead Redemption.
Well, that I mean,
It-
for
the-
Bree personally, that's kind of what it was.
The problem
Was
with
that
Red
they
Dead
were trying to
Redemption-
have both an open world game, but in half the shit you had to do, it was so tightly constrained by what you had to fucking do. Where it's like, hey, if you're doing this mission,
Yeah,
if
because you're not playing yourself.
Yeah,
Red Dead Redemption
playing
wants
as a
to be
person.
Grand
yeah,
Theft Auto
but
5.
then it shouldn't have had. But then it's trying to force this open world game where you are completely not being that character.
Red Dead Redemption
Because
wants
it's either
to be
you're being
Grand
that-
Theft Auto 5.
Yeah,
It wants to
because
capitalize on the crazy sandbox multiplayer experience where
Yeah.
people make their own shit, but that is not what Red Dead Redemption in a whole has been.
No.
Red Dead Redemption has been a Fallout 1, 2, 3, or 4,
Yeah.
not a Fallout 76. But a lot of the AAA developers right now are, hey, you can have your cake and eat it too. Why not? Why don't
Red
we
Dead
make Red
Redemption.
Dead Redemption 2 with online stuff?
Yeah, it's
and
got
single-player
online,
stuff.
and it's got. I think it's got microtransactions too. As well.
It does. It
It
now
does.
does have micro.
Yeah, well,
it did
then
not
once
come
again,
out with
no,
microtransactions. To be fair, it did not
Well,
advertise
what's the
them like that,
multiplayer doing?
but now it's coming out.
What do you mean?
Red Dead Redemption's 2's multiplayer. What
The
is it?
multiplayer is trying to be Grand Theft Auto 5 in the way that you are like in Grand Theft Auto 5 you can buy the big shark cards. So the shark cards give
But what do
buy-
you do with your buddies? Like what?
You
this
buy-
multiplayer game. What are they doing?
You
It's
buy
basically
horses,
you
What are they
you
doing?
get to become a millionaire in your own merit.
You buy horses, you buy guns, you rob people. That's what
And
happens.
you rob other players, like Rust
No,
style.
no. You just rob
Oh, sorry.
the things that they set up.
What are the so? What are the other players doing?
The other players are doing the exact same thing.
So
It's PvEPP.
It's PvEPVP. So like you are fighting other players that are also trying to rob the same thing, but there are also microtransactions to make those robbers easier. So
Yeah.
people that are paying for the microtransactions are inherently getting a better value and better quote unquote stats. Like they're paying for their stats to do the robberies
so they're
better.
just playing a shooter where they try to get the highest KDR.
Yes, and that's what Grand Theft Auto does. You buy these microtransactions for $5 million, you get the better
Okay,
cars,
well,
the better
so
things,
once
and
again,
do
you know,
robberies
it-
better.
Red Dead
It is
Redemption 2, that's gonna fall
blatantly
apart. That's gonna blow up in their
trash,
face, probably exactly for the reason
100%.
you
Well,
listed.
they just
It
released
already
the GTA 5
There you go.
update because I think they realized that it wasn't going as planned.
Yeah, well, there we are.
Well, GTA 5 is Rockstar's
That thing is-
successful.
That thing
Alright.
is printing fucking money.
Yeah.
for-
All right, let's
Alright,
let's take this into closing statements. I
We're
think,
running
'cause
on
we're
2
on
hours
2
here.
hours here. We're starting to repeat what the
I'm
fuck
actually
we're
surprised
saying.
it's only been 2 hours. It felt like it's been a long time.
All right,
Yeah,
so
well,
let's
how
start
it
the
goes.
table. Let's go this way this time, Mr. the Spartan. What's your closing statements here?
Figuring out.
Turning off the shit music. What the fuck?
Yeah.
There was a couple good songs.
Actually-
There was a couple good songs, but
No,
Yeah,
but
one
now
or
it's
two.
like I don't know what the frick's going on here.
Anyway, games could be better if people didn't use such broad strokes in terms of targeting.
Okay, yeah.
That isn't to say that including other aspects that are basically downplayed normally isn't a bad thing, but just do it right. Like, don't bend it in a way that isn't understandable. I guess what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
like the women soldiers. Sort of.
Yeah,
The Battlefield
that kind of
thing.
thing.
Put
Yeah.
a little bit of effort into it.
Yeah, don't just grunt like
Don't try to ram something down their throats that's completely unbelievable.
yeah. On top of
Not only that,
Like,
it kind of
if-
shows their bigotry too, if you think about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we had to make these fantasy women in order to include women in World War II because real women couldn't possibly have existed.
In World War II.
Thanks, fuck.
There were women
Yeah,
in World
it's-
War II.
Yo,
Thanks. I have a family that
We need
like,
to produce-
We have warship.
We need to produce these
everywhere,
fake fantasy, like, super magic women so that we can actually include them so that women can feel, like, empowered because obviously women didn't do anything in World War II and they were basically worthless.
Obviously, men were more important.
They were at home making me sandwiches.
I don't know. It just sounds like the same culture of bigotry that we get from that political ideology, where it's just basically a
it's-
bunch of bigots with the bigotry of low expectations, and they just are projecting that on women.
Yeah. I mean,
It's beautiful. I love it.
I don't know about this guy right to me, but I don't know if you're done.
Well, on top of that, also, like, if you're gonna make something, put some goddamn effort into it. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
This is something you're trying to sell to people. And people don't want to buy shit.
Mhm.
And if people if you label it as the Mona Lisa and then give them, like, a fucking coloring book that they have to color themselves.
You mean that weird Mona Lisa revamped sketch where it's just like that weird face?
Yeah,
It's
stupid
yeah,
shit.
it's like-
Nobody's gonna want it.
Yep.
Everybody's gonna hate it.
And
And
don't call them bigots when they don't
But
buy
don't
it.
call them
yeah,
Jesus.
and don't
Oh,
fucking
Jesus.
smack them in the face with it when they get pissed off at it. When you sell them one thing and give them another. Like, this is stupid business 101 shit that people are blatantly ignoring in the quest for more money.
We are in
The failed question.
The failed quest
Yeah,
for more
failed
money.
That's
And
that's
it's just-
that's the point we have to make here. It's like people don't buy this shit, and then they get mad because people aren't buying this shit, and then they have to start spending more money on media to show how bad gamers are. Gamers are
Yeah.
toxic. Gamers
Oh,
are dead.
like
We
When,
can't figure out the gamers. We're trying our best.
IGN covered the Blizzard
Buy the game or
thing
don't.
and said,
We don't
"Oh
care.
my god, Blizzard
Why is nobody
fans are
buying our
attacking
game?"
Blizzard over their new release of Diablo."
Like,
You're
yeah.
gamers are
You're
attacking
goddamn
Blizzard.
right.
They fucking buy your games all the fucking time.
Yeah,
They're
let's-
attacking
Let's
Blizzard.
not get
because
into
you give them what they
the
wanted.
let's not get into the
Nitty-gritty.
social connections between the gaming producers, the gaming press, and the gaming public.
Oh, that's way.
Because that's
'Cause
that's
that's a new
that's the,
podcast.
that's the evil Gamergate, and that's an entirely different.
yeah, that's a whole new.
Subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to
Jared
Jared
from
from
Subway here.
Subway.
Well, I'm branded, so I have to keep this short. But yeah, no, I totally agree with exactly what you said. Like, it's just in
Who's your-
in a lot of cases with AAA developers, it feels like
I think he means
they're trying to they're trying to basically put out a
Radio
minimum-
doesn't have fingers.
Yeah, exactly. But they're trying to put out a minimum viable product in order to appeal to everybody, and without putting literally any effort into like why that game might be good or why anyone might want to play it. Just hoping that, hey, if we put all the things that people do right now, maybe it's fine, right? Like, hey, people like buying loot boxes and like grinding. Maybe if we just put that in, it'll be fine. But so I think that's important, and I think again, like I've said before, like just speaking with your wallet, like there's lots of indie developers making lots of really awesome games, and there's lots of good single player games that you can find. Like you just, you need to find them and just put your money there, and it'll speak for itself. So
Sadly, you might have to dig nowadays.
yeah, you have to dig through a lot of Steam garbage, but don't worry, Steam's on your side probably. Not.
The drunken Dr. Postdocs.
Drunken Dr. Postdocs says that indie games are our only hope. In the Star Wars thing, indie games are our only hope, because AAA developers are just like, hey, we got like a lot of money. How do we make a lot of money? And then you get Battlefront 1, you get Battlefront 2, you get stupid shit like that. You get Hearthstone things that are like, hey, you know what Druid really needs? More really powerful cards to kill
Why
everyone.
the fuck didn't we talk about Hearthstone? Next time we're gonna talk
I
about Hearthstone.
don't. So what I think we gotta really put our beliefs in Nintendo, and we put our beliefs in the indie developers, because honestly, they're the only two people that really care about quality.
Well, CD
Instead
Projekt
of-
Red does.
yeah,
a bit,
CD
too.
Projekt Red can
pr-
suck my dick because they fucking hate their employees and they make them do stupid shit.
Praise
The
Mario
Witcher
and Link
3 can
comment.
suck my big old fucking dick because Skyrim did it better. But anyway, Geralt's done a lot of cool things. People like Geralt or whatever the fucking way you do it. Anyway, indie developers that aren't CD Projekt Red.
I think Monolith
Wait, what's
or
their,
Obelisk
what's their
or whatever.
Oh, the guys that make the
Cyberpunk
Newgrounds-esque games,
Cyberpunk
like Castle
27.
Crashers and things
That game
like
looks
that.
fucking
They're
amazing.
really good, but I was also thinking the guys who
Obsidian
did
does-
Fallout New
Obsidian
Vegas.
does
They're
good
making
shit,
that
too.
new game.
Obsidian's
called,
Obsidian.
good. Yeah, Obsidian's really
Obsidian,
good.
that's it.
Yeah.
So
they're the good
may
part
our
of
hearts
that.
lie in the producers.
Well, they talk
that
a good game. If they
in
make a piece
good-
of shit,
in
then they're gonna look like
good- in
fools.
good
Like they're the ones making fun of.
Kojima
Yeah.
leaving Konami to start his own thing, like the developers.
What do you
of
mean
Mega
Kojima
Man.
leaving? I think he got fired.
No, Kojima left.
I'm pretty sure he got fired.
That boy was chained to a desk.
Yes.
You know,
Anyway.
I'm sure he fought for his freedom and escaped.
The producers
Somebody
of Mega
smarter than
Man
bolt
that
cutters.
freed themselves from Capcom and made the fucking abhorrent game that is Mighty Number 9. We
No.
depend on developers like Quicksilver.
And this
To
is
make
why we
our
have
own
free-to-play
games.
games and not
Quicksilver's good.
But this
Kickstarter
is
games.
Mighty Number
This is
9
why we
the
don't have
reason why
Kickstarter
we have
games
free-to-play
stuff,
games.
yes.
Because Mighty Number 9 is a giant trash fire of a Kickstarter game. But seriously, indie developers and
And
all
also,
of these, all of these
happy
gods,
few.
these gods of gaming, leaving all of this AAA bullshit, that's where we should put our hearts in. Kojima leaving fucking Konami to make his own game, we should really believe in that game and buy it no matter what.
Believe in developers,
No,
not the marketing
because-
not buy it
Yeah,
no matter what.
yeah.
Okay, not
Buy
buy
it-
it no matter what. Because
like-
Mighty Number 9 really focused on that kind of shit. Mighty Number 9 was a fucking trash fire.
Yes.
But I believe that Kojima's gonna make a good game no matter what.
I think it's hilarious that the trailer for Mighty Number 9 like made a joke about hating on people who watch hentai.
No,
Or not
no
hentai,
more.
who watch anime or something. Wasn't there a joke about like hating anime people?
Cheers to no more AAA
Hilarious.
doing their microtransactions. and
You have
whatever the
another
fuck
drink.
they
You
want.
look like you need it.
Hell yeah.
I do need another drink.
Me too.
I'm mad at AAA developers. We broke up. We don't talk anymore. I talk shit about his family. He talks shit about my family. But now I'm really aboard the indie developers, and I really like Undertale.
Okay,
and
it's wrap up
and
time.
other-
You're
And
done.
You're good.
I'm done. You go.
Okay.
It's your turn.
Drink stuff.
So yeah, really, I think my conclusion here, and I think everybody's sort of reaching a similar consensus, is that yeah, it's not so much like the free to play or the loot boxes or some of these things that are bad, but it's probably the intersection of different audiences. Like nobody wants to pay $60 for a puzzle box and get stuck with a competitive loot box game. Nobody wants to buy. Nobody wants to play their newest like PC Master Race shooter and get stuck having to play a bejeweled mini game so that they can get loot boxes to get the best bullets. You know, like
Yeah.
you see what I'm like. You don't intersect these different markets. You know,
Exactly. You can't pussyfoot in between both.
you know, people. It goes with anything, any industry. And the gaming industry is really new, so people, I guess, they have to relearn the basics. But the most basic bit shit is that, you know, you have a market to sell to, and you sell to that market. You can't sell to every market. It doesn't work like that. You know.
Well, I don't think it's that's new. It's just that it's never been more popular, and that they're trying to. They don't know. Well, it's not that they don't.
Video games
But, like,
aren't movies.
No.
Yeah.
We're not
As much as people want to believe that video games are entertainment, they're not
Exactly.
movies. They're
Yeah.
more like cars.
It's art.
People buy a car for a reason, and the people or they're a vehicle,
Yeah.
right? Some people buy cars because they need to get around in a car. Some people buy motorcycles because they like fast and cool shit.
They like to die in.
Some people buy airplanes, right? Like they're
I like
different
to ride on a
markets.
train.
Right? Yeah, some people ride trains. Some people just take the bus, and that's free to play.
I like to
Right?
assemble
I'm a
giant
free-to-play
flocks
bus
of
player.
pigeons and attach them to balloons. And
But anyway, yeah, just keep your audiences in mind. Keep the game type that you're playing in mind, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with any of these games, and all of these games can be for any, you know, group of people. You can make a puzzle box game for women. They exist. They're really good, and they're usually really chill games that, you know, you can just sort of pick up and play and enjoy. Katamari Damacy is a perfect example of a game for women that everybody enjoys because there's no real. Like, you don't die in it. You know, it's not violent. It's something that, like, they love it. And fucking all dudes love it, too. Because, you know, guess what? Men and women like the same thing sometimes.
Dating sims.
But dating sims, too. Lots of people play The Sims. That's a woman's game, right? Like, it's very feminine, but, like, dudes like it. But, like, it intersects because you built a game for a specific audience And it just happens that sometimes people from other audiences like that game. You didn't build a game for two separate audiences and try to placate both. It's the fallacy of the generalist, right? You know, the generalist tries to do everything and he sucks at them all, right? Where the specialist tries to do one thing and he's good at that one thing, right? And everyone respects the specialist, but nobody respects the generalist. Right? Because he's shit at everything. Even though he's better than the guy who doesn't do it at all, like he's better than the specialist at 5 different things, you know, the specialist is the one who will get more respect because he's way better than the generalist.
At the thing, yeah.
At the one specific thing. And it's the same goes for video games. Specialize in the genre or the marketplace that you want to enter.
Well, and also just recognize it. Like, I know we've been shitting on Fallout 76 a lot, but it's like
Because it's
they've made first person. Or not first person. They've made single player narrative driven games, and then to put this out and it just seems like such a blunder on their part.
kind of be fair, like if you ask people, it's like, well, what would be the coolest feature for a Fallout game? They'd be like, yeah, multiplayer. Like, I would have said the same thing. But when I say multiplayer, I mean I want to play like 2 or 3 dudes, which are my bros, and we all play multiplayer together.
Yeah, but you would say that in a Fallout game. You'd be like, okay, Fallout 4, but with other people. Not only me and my bros.
Or like 4 or 5 guys all playing Fallout together, like
exactly.
in a co-op.
It's a Fallout universe game, but also you have
like
friends.
Nobody wants to PvP
It's not
with
just
vats.
friends in a Fallout game. Yeah.
It's not
Like
fun.
that's bad.
Like,
That's
Yeah, whoever
let's
clicks,
bring back the 90s time-based.
whoever clicks VATS first wins.
yeah, the sniper
It's
who
not
sees
even
you from
that.
a mile
It's
away.
not even that. Like it's whoever shoots second wins.
Oh yeah,
It's-
because if you get shot, you get to you don't
It does
take that much
basically no
but then
damage.
you get
It's
to
the Final
retrigger the
Fantasy
fight.
VII
It's such a
system, but everybody
stupid
has
system.
limits.
It's
so
like,
the person
I
that
can't
goes
imagine-
second wins.
I don't understand that you don't realize that's a fucking dumb mechanic, and that how that will not ever work in
Because it
it's-
stops bullying.
Yeah, but then it also stops interaction with your fucking PvP environment.
Yeah, but you don't. But that it's got to stop bullying because we want the bejeweled audience.
Yeah.
We want the girl gamers who don't like being harassed by online trolls.
Yeah, so they
Because
don't
that's
have to
really
deal with it.
important
Yes.
in a game that's Rust.
Yes.
Then a game that's post-apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. They can.
Factions
That's where
warring
I'm coming in.
against
They
each
completely
other.
blundered on what their
Can't have
audience
trolls.
truly was, and they ruined it.
Can't have fighting.
Like,
Not
you-
only that, it doesn't
Can't
even
have
make
fighting.
sense. It's like a post-apocalyptic game that's trying to be Rust, and you've taken away all the stuff that made Rust fun, which was like trolling kids.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm in a post-apocalyptic environment, you're goddamn right. I'm gonna troll some losers who don't know what wastelands like.
Yeah,
Be a
exactly.
raider.
Right. Do something goofy. You'd have all the YouTube streamers making bullshit where it's like, yeah, we stole everybody's canned spam.
Like, yeah, look at Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
That game was basically just a proof of concept, but it was real popular because it was really fun to play and stream.
Yeah,
But then there was no content, so the game
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
And now it's
So
getting
that's
better.
the problem.
But like you see
How
what I'm
much
saying
did
is
they
that
invest
like,
in
is
Sea
that
of
like
Thieves?
they
Like,
had
how-
the idea there.
That was
They
an
just-
indie game, wasn't it?
No, that's a
No,
game
that
by
was
Rare.
Microsoft.
That was a full,
Yeah,
that was
that
a
was-
full on big ass game
That was
Oh.
that
the first
Microsoft
game
and Rare made.
Rare made.
Oh, it was
Banjo-Kazooie
Rareware.
3.
Yes.
Oh no, never mind.
And
Never
like,
mind.
let me tell you, like by now they've done lots of strides and made the game really good. But when it came out, it was just
No.
It
not
was
good.
humping
As soon as you
But
said it was
the-
made by Rareware,
the
I
first
knew.
like 4
Nintendo
hours
did
of-
well by selling that.
You played it for
did.
4 or 5 hours with your friends at first. It's like, man, we fucking pirates and this game is awesome.
You know
and
what?
after that, you're like, wait, this has.
It turns into Sailing Simulator
it's a,
2018.
it is a puddle of a game.
I wish I
Yes.
had a
But it had the
gold-plated
potential.
photo of Bill Gates' face when he thought he was like, I'm gonna buy Rareware from Nintendo. Holy fuck! There's like
I'm a
there's
fucking show-off.
and in fact that smug face on him when he bought that company. He was just like, yeah, look at me, I'm the goddamn big baller. Look at me.
I know.
And then cameo
Perfect
elements
Dark,
of
that shit
power
was
came out.
nudes.
I want to see that face of the smug, and then cameo elements of power release. And then, like, maybe 3 years later, now the like Sea of Thieves came out, and like 1 month after that, I want to see what Bill Gates' face is when
He
you're
doesn't
like,
give
so
a
what do you
fuck."
think of Rareware? Well, you know what I mean. Like, whoever, Bill Gates is just my token
Yeah, yeah,
Microsoft
yeah.
The
guy.
Microsoft guy.
Yeah, it probably isn't. He's retired. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. But
He was too busy saving toilets.
he did want to enter the console industry, though. That was part of his thing. He's like, I will literally throw money until we win.
That's why Xbox came out.
That's the only reason.
And that's why Xbox was the best at for a while.
because they
Sorry,
threw.
the 360 was better than the PlayStation for a while.
It was better than the PS4 because the PS4 was an overpriced piece
No,
of shit.
PS3.
Yes, PS3.
Yeah.
Right.
Xbox-
I don't play console anymore.
What
are
are
you
you
on
on
about?
I don't know. He's drunk and retarded.
Xbox 360 did way
I'm not
better
trying to
than
revive
Sony.
console
Oh my
wars, but
god!
the
Fucking look
360
at the
was
numbers,
better.
you Xbox fucking heathens. Oh my god.
I think the 360 did better than the PS.
no, it didn't.
3.
350.
Yes, it did.
No, as soon as it started getting red rings of
better.
death and people had to send in
Yeah.
their shit,
But it was
fucking
still
hit the
better.
Fucking, no, it wasn't.
Oh, it
and
was.
it even had better games and
It
shit.
doesn't. It doesn't matter. The fucking Wii was.
The Wii did better
Yeah,
than
but
both.
I'm not talking about the
Grandma
Wii.
bought the Wii, and every retirement home has
Yeah,
a Wii.
Grandma
in it, so
bought the
eat
Wii
shit.
and Xbox and PlayStation fucking
Hey, I'm not
punched
bringing the
each
Wii
other
into
into
this
the grave.
And they bought that Wii balance board, and they fucking. You know, they played their Bejeweled games because Nintendo knew. They were like, you know what? Yoga. Yoga's the way.
Yeah, but
so
wait,
we're just going to release a
but
yoga thing.
Wait, what did Nintendo do next? Wait, what's a Wii U? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, because Grandpa and Grandma didn't
Never
realize.
heard of it.
They didn't. Well, you obviously you heard of it. You just talked about it.
We
I
went
know, but
downstairs
that's-
and I showed him the Wii U before he played Smash Bros. 4 and he said, "What the fuck is
I've
that?"
literally never seen a
saw
Wii U in the
one.
wild. Like, I've never seen one out of the box. Like,
I can literally attest to that. Like he did not know what the Wii U
This
was sitting on
the
the ground
switches and a
downstairs.
test is amazing, but yeah, okay. In between there, Nintendo sort of really fucked up. But anyway, we're not doing a console war argument here.
No.
Because
We're wrapping it up.
That's for another podcast.
Because we're going long.
No,
Wait, let's keep it
I'm
going.
just waiting for everyone to shut the fuck up so I can say the closing statement.
Okay.
It's all you, bro.
I got
Alright,
first.
so you-
Well, it's not because
Okay.
you guys are still talking. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this this polluted shit show that we call a podcast.
2 hours.
It was 2 hours long. I hope you survived it. You got to watch more recycled footage of the Vagrant.
Woo!
That, you know, this is almost like a tradition now where it's like he doesn't make new
We
Vagrant
haven't
episodes.
finished the Vagrant.
I haven't even made a new episode in like 4 months. It's beautiful. That's how much of my
Quality
Let's Player I am.
post-time.
It's beautiful. Anyway. I hope you guys watched, like, subscribe, do some stuff. Sorry for not making the dungeon viewer who
Smash
watched
that like
last
button.
week.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like,
Smash
hammer that like button. Subscribe to PewDiePie.
Subscribe to PewDiePie boys.
Unsubscribe from T-Series.
If you
And,
subscribe to T Series,
like the
why
baby
you
video.
subscribe to T Series?
Like Justin Bieber's baby, dislike
Like
the
baby,
YouTube
dislike
Undislike.
YouTube Time 2018.
Undislike it.
You guys all take care
Beautiful.
and don't die.